unexpected events and the worst thing that is possible. That is the sentiment amongst the Aam Aadmi Party. You talk to anybody, talk to any spokesperson, talk to any worker, they'll say we are prepared to go to jail. And that is what actually Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal had said on the floor of the House. When he was addressing his MLAs, please tell your families that it is time now to go to jail. And this is the second time that it is happening with the Aam Aadmi Party. Remember when the party was formed in 2013, contested its first elections between 2015 onwards, there were an onslaught of cases against Aam Aadmi Party MLAs, their ministers, raids, which have been talked about much. In fact, the place where I'm standing now today, in front of Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal's residence, is also a place that was raided in 2017 in the winter months over there. And I've seen what was happening over there, and I'm seeing that today he is the Chief Minister still. So the challenge for the Aam Aadmi Party essentially is to fight back, to push back, and to hold its party together. And because it has happened before, the party and its leadership is confident that they can do it again. But this time it is a little more serious. Why am I saying that? It is because the central government agencies are essentially targeting or finding fault with the topmost ministers in the government. It is Satyendra Jain, somebody who the Aam Aadmi Party Chief Arvind Kejriwal completely relied upon and trusted. It is Manish Sisodia, somebody with whom Aam Aadmi Party Chief has had a 20-year plus relationship, somebody who is his probably most trusted aide. So once you target these people, then it is in a way an attack on the government itself, an attack on the Chief Minister itself. But Arvind Kejriwal, being the kind of person he is, what I have noticed about him is that the harder you push him against the wall, the harder he fights back. And even yesterday, when all this drama was unfolding and when raids were still continuing in the house of Manish Sisodia.
All right, Rupashi, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt you. We're going across to Anshul Singh because essentially there is some chaos going on during the Congress protests that are taking place. Anshul, over to you. Tell us about what's going on.
So yes, Asha, you can see in the visuals that this is the effigy of Arvind Kejriwal that has been burned by the people, by the workers of the Congress party, and this effigy was initially garlanded by a necklace of shoes that was made, and that this is the kind of protest that our Congress party is trying to make over here. They have currently burned this first effigy of Arvind Kejriwal, where the workers of the Congress party are now beating this effigy with sticks and stones, just trying to make a point of the excise policy that was put up by the Delhi government has definitely affected each and every family in the national capital. The manner in which, as the Congress claims, that the manner in which the cases of domestic violence has gone up. This is all being claimed by the Aam Aadmi Party. There is still no official document to submit this. But yes, the Congress Party is claiming that they are protesting. They are angry against Aam Aadmi Party and Arvind Kejriwal because they think that they have managed to destroy each and every family. They have managed to destroy the youth of the country by giving them, providing them free alcohol, making them dependent on alcohol. So you can see in the visuals over here, the action has started over here. The speeches have ended, and just in the next few minutes, the senior leaders of the Congress party are now talking to the Delhi police, just trying to find a way to allow them to carry out with their protest. But yes, if you could see in the visuals over here, the first effigy has been burned. I'll ask my camera person to show you in the visuals over here. The hectic parley between the senior leaders of the Congress party and the Delhi police is currently going on. The workers have started to gather out here on the barricades. They have started to gather out here on the barricades. They are talking to senior officials of the Delhi police, trying to put out a point that they should be allowed to carry out with the protest, and they'll make sure that no violence happens. But since the Delhi police is not allowing them, has not given them any sort of permission, we can see more action developing over here. The leaders, the workers have gathered right across the barricades. In fact, they have started to climb and cross the barricades as of now. But yes, the Delhi police and the women police is also present over here. They are trying to make sure that no one is allowed to cross this barricade in any way possible. That is the reason why the entire stretch of this road has been absolutely barricaded by the Delhi police, and the sloganeering has started right outside right in front of the barricades of the Delhi police. And yes, in the next few minutes we can see the Congress workers trying to cross these barricades and reach at the Aam Aadmi Party office, which is just across the road from here. So yes, the action is beginning over here. More effigies will be burnt in the next few minutes, is what we are being told. And yes, the Congress party will try to make the right noises and say that they stand with the people of Delhi, and the manner in which the entire excise policies, so-called scam, has come to the fore. That scam that has been unearthed, that takes the right conclusion. And when people actually read about this entire story or this entire scam, the Congress party also has a name in that story. So this is the plan of the Congress party as of now, and it is expected that they would try to cross over the barricades. But yes, the senior leaders of the Congress party are talking to the police. The police is trying to still convince them that please do not take the law and order situation in your hand. You had the permission to carry out a protest outside your office, and that permission has been given, and hence the Delhi police has not objected to anything. To all the protests that has been happening over here for at least past 1 hour. The Delhi police has not objected to them, but has only said to stay away from the barricades and do not cross barricades and do not try to take the law and order situation in their hand. And as the discussion is going on, it remains to be seen if the Congress workers are now actually convinced to not cross these barricades and end the protest over here. But as of now, the situation seems to be in control right now, as the Delhi police has allowed them to carry out with their protest in front of these barricades. They wouldn't be allowed to cross those barricades, and it seems that as of now the situation is getting back in control. The workers have now sat in front of these barricades. If you can see in the visuals over here, the workers have now sat in front of these barricades and have started sloganeering, just trying to make the right noises. The slogans, if you could hear, the slogans are being made against the liquor mafia in the national capital. And so yes, they are currently demanding the resignation of Manish Sisodia. So yes, it remains to be seen if this entire protest will remain peaceful, or will the Congress workers get agitated enough to cross these barricades. But as of now, it seems that the Delhi police has managed to convince them to stay behind these barricades and carry out these protests from inside these barricades as of now, Aisha.
All right, Anshul, so essentially, can you tell us about the slogans that are being raised right now?
So yes, the slogans, if I could just ask my camera person to show you the visuals over here. The slogans are being raised against the liquor mafia. The slogans are being raised against the Delhi government. Slogans are being raised against Manish Sisodia, Arvind Kejriwal. And slogans are also being raised demanding the resignation of Manish Sisodia. If you could hear in the background over here, the slogans that are being raised: Manish Sisodia istifa do, Manish Sisodia istifa do. So yes, this is the basic message that the Congress party is trying to give out. They are trying to make sure that this message is propagated over here, that they stand against the corruption of the Congress party, and hence demand the resignation of Manish Sisodia, who is the number one accused in the FIR that has been filed by the CBI. If you could see in the visuals over here, other senior leaders of the Congress party have all gathered here. I'll just try and get in a word from sir. The Congress party is protesting today, but yes, the Congress party has been accused of hypocrisy. Just a week and a half ago, the Congress party hit the roads when Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi were investigated by the central agencies. And today, again, when central agencies have investigated someone from the Aam Aadmi party, the Congress has hit the road. How do you respond to this?
I don't think there is any hypocrisy on part of the Congress. And Congress is still holding the same stand. And BJP is misusing income tax, ED and CBI against the opposition. And it's true. But in this case, it's a very obvious. 144 crore rupees is a very obvious. And secondly, that they have started harming BJP somewhere to contain them. Maybe it is a tacit understanding between, which did not work out. They thought that they will not go beyond harming the Congress. Now they have started harming the BJP also, just to control them. Might be possible to control them. And still we are holding the same position. And as far as ED notice to Rahul ji and Sonia ji concerned, completely different. No money transaction, no policy alteration or amendment into policy. And the party has given the fund to its newspaper to run it. And of course, that is not at all a case of money laundering or any embezzlement. So the cases are different.
So what is the strategy going ahead from here of the Congress party? So how are you going to make more protest on the more pressure on the Delhi government now?
We have done our part, we will do our own part, and of course going to the public is the only option in democracy. And of course we have made our protest. It's obvious now that they have indulged in corruption. I asked them that what happened when he said that the moment he comes into the power, Sheila Dikshit will be sent to jail, corruption will be investigated. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. Not anything. No college, no universities have opened. As he said, that 20 colleges will be opened, and 8 lakhs jobs will be given. Instead of 8 lakhs, only 419 jobs were given. So they are liars. A liar can do, a white liar can do anything, any corruption.
Thank you so much for your time, sir. So that was Udit Raj, who had come out here to protest, to raise the voice of the Congress workers over here. And the message that if you heard him, he said that the manner in which the Aam Aadmi Party has been functioning is absolutely corrupt, and hence they will continue to build pressure on the Aam Aadmi Party government demanding the resignation of Manish Sisodia. So yes, it remains to be seen how much effectiveness can these protests be finally brought, and how much pressure could it actually build on the Aam Aadmi Party, because the Aam Aadmi Party currently seems to be absolutely unrattled by these kind of protests that are be happening over here. I'll just try and get in a few more voices from the ground over here. सर आप आगे क्या रणनीति है? दिल्ली पुलिस ने आपको रोक दिया यहाँ पे, आप आगे नहीं जा पाए, आगे क्या रणनीति है, कैसे प्रेशर बनाएंगे?
निश्चित तौर पे कानून के अनुसार हम अपना मांग कर रहे हैं, और आगे हम दिल्ली के लेफ्टिनेंट गवर्नर से मिलकर ज्ञापन सौंपेंगे और मांग करेंगे कि अली बाबा को बर्खास्त किया जाए, केजरीवाल सरकार को बर्खास्त किया जाए अविलंब, और राष्ट्रपति शासन लागू हो। ये भ्रष्टाचारियों की सरकार को जाना चाहिए। बार बार जब इनके मंत्री चोर साबित हो रहे हैं, तो निश्चित तौर पर मुखिया इसका बड़ा चोर है, उस मुखिया को बर्खास्त करके उसके खिलाफ भी इंक्वायरी हो।
So yes, as he rightly spelled out, the next course of action that the Congress party is going to take, that the Delhi Pradesh Congress Committee is going to take, they are basically going to go ahead and meet the Lieutenant Governor in the next few days, is what they are telling us, and submit more proofs to them, and will initially demand them to remove this corrupt government from power and impose presidential rule. So this is something that the Congress party is strategizing as of now, but it remains to be seen how does the Aam Aadmi Party now respond to this, because the Aam Aadmi Party has not responded to the Congress party directly since yesterday, but they have taken on the BJP because they know that BJP is the main opposition and they want to make it a two-way fight. The Aam Aadmi Party wants to make it a two-way fight between the BJP and the Aam Aadmi Party, or between Arvind Kejriwal and Narendra Modi. But yes, now the Congress has stepped up. The Congress is showing its strength on the ground. The Congress has also now gotten into this whole controversy and is trying to make this a three-way fight. But will the Congress be successful in doing so? Because this is still a very long haul. This is still a very long fight to get Congress back into existence, especially in the politics of the national capital. So yes, it remains to be seen how does the Congress now take this forward, and how much pressure would they able to build on the government, or what action do they demand from the Lieutenant Governor when they go ahead and meet them. So yes, a very interesting time frame that we are currently seeing in the politics of the national capital. It remains to be seen how does this entire scenario take turn. But currently, yes, the Congress party is trying to continue with its pressure building tactics. It remains to be seen how successful will they be in this entire situation, Aisha.
Absolutely, Anshul. Thank you for giving us that update. Now, essentially, that is the situation that we're seeing right now. The Congress is protesting. They've burnt effigies of Manish Sisodia and Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal as well. Now, in a very short while from now, we are going to be seeing a press conference conducted by the Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia. Now, this comes after 14 hours of long raids at his residence yesterday. Now, two things that were retrieved from during those raids were his phone as well as a laptop. Now, I'm crossing over to my colleague Rupashri Nanda to get us more details. Rupashri, now we're only a few short minutes away from Manish Sisodia's press conference. Do continue with what you were telling us earlier before I had to interrupt you for those Congress protests and the chaos happening over there. But do continue with what you were telling us about the temperature within the AAP.
Well, the temperatures within the Aam Aadmi Party, if you are talking about whether the Aam Aadmi Party is worried, whether the Aam Aadmi Party is angry, whether the Aam Aadmi Party is confident. It is all of that. It is trying to portray a very brave front. It is trying to send out a signal that because we do good work and because of the jealousy of party which is far bigger than us, we have had to suffer. And this is not the first time that it is happening. It has happened throughout in the past. And over there, the Aam Aadmi Party actually, if you go by the records, the Aam Aadmi Party actually has a case when it comes to the number of cases that have been filed against its various MLAs, its workers, its ministers. We've seen raids before also at the Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia's residence, and even at Arvind Kejriwal's residence and office before. The question over here essentially is, why is this time it is different? It is different this time because of the Delhi excise policy and the alleged role of Manish Sisodia over there. With the central government agency actually scanning or putting the role of two ministers under the scanner, that is Satyendra Jain and Manish Sisodia. Essentially, if they are able to prove their point, then it would be a big blow for Arvind Kejriwal. Definitely, whether it is something that he has to brace himself against. Brace himself against is something that he has to fight back. Now, Kejriwal has made a point very clear. He has stood behind Satyendra Jain despite mounting pressure from the BJP that Satyendra Jain still continues to be a minister. Arvind Kejriwal has not sacked his minister. He has just stripped the portfolios of the minister in jail and has given those to them to Manish Sisodia to handle, with the idea that work in Delhi should not suffer. And that is the point that he made even yesterday. And he said that aise archane aati rahengi, meaning such obstacles will keep coming our way, but we have to continue to perform, and work will go on. And the Aam Aadmi Party is actually looking ahead. It is looking ahead at Gujarat. It is looking ahead at national elections 2024. You heard all the party leaders who spoke yesterday. They tried to cash in on this opportunity or use this adversity as a political opportunity and pitch the 2024 battle as a Modi versus Kejriwal battle. They're trying to portray the Aam Aadmi Party as the real opposition to the BJP in the country. As opposed to the Congress party. And why am I saying that? Because look at what has happened in a place like Delhi. Congress ruled Delhi for 3 consecutive years under Sheila Dikshit, and after that, after the rise of the Aam Aadmi Party, Congress has been wiped out from Delhi. Even in terms of vote share, it has reduced to double digits. Probably 12 to 14% is what its vote share now is. And it does not have a single member in the Delhi Assembly, and that is very, very pathetic for a national party. And look at what happened in Punjab, and looking ahead at what is probably going to happen in Gujarat. Aam Aadmi Party is slowly eating into the space of the Congress party, or the space that was occupied by the Congress party. And that is why you see the vociferous protests against the Aam Aadmi Party by the Congress party, despite calls from various leaders for opposition parties to unite to take on the BJP. So not easy times for the Aam Aadmi Party at all. Tough times for the Aam Aadmi Party, bracing itself for battles to be fought in the court of law and in the eyes of the people, which is why you saw press conferences, and so many of them yesterday that were held. Essentially, the communication was not just to the BJP but to the people of Delhi, that we are the ones who are under attack because we are doing well. BJP, of course, has a very different story, and BJP, of course, is trying to tarnish the Aam Aadmi Party at a place where it hurts the most. That is its
All right, Rupashree, I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to interrupt you once more. We're getting some breaking news coming in on this story. Now, essentially, prior to raids conducted on the Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Sisodia's residence, Delhi's Rouse Avenue Court had issued search warrants. Now, while the FIR was registered on the 17th of August, Special CBI Judge M.K. Nagpal had issued these search warrants. Now, the case is now marked to Special CBI Judge M.K. Nagpal, and the search list submitted by the CBI included the search of certain documents, property papers, and a bunch of newspapers as well. All right, now I'm crossing over to our correspondent Ananya Bhatnagar to give us more details on this. Ananya, can you tell us about these search warrants that were issued and the involvement of the Delhi's Rouse Avenue Court?
Well, yes, definitely. When the FIR was registered on 18th of August, search warrants were issued by Special CBI Judge M.K. Nagpal. The search list that had been submitted by the CBI for, in fact, getting these search warrants issued was included certain property papers, certain documents, and also a bunch of newspaper that had to be examined by the Bureau of Investigation and that is ceased. So a search warrant was issued by Special CBI Judge M.K. Nagpal into this particular case, and the particular FIR has also been marked to Mr. M.K. Nagpal, who would now be taking all of the legal affairs in this case. If Mr. Manish Sisodia has to file something into this particular case, whether it's an anticipatory bail application or a bail application, he would now have to approach this particular court and file any kind of application before it. In fact, the case would later on, when any arrest into this particular case is made, that is also would be heard by Special CBI Judge M.K. Nagpal. Remember, he is the 9th Special CBI Judge at the Rouse Avenue Court and has been dealing with certain other cases as well. He is the Special MP MLA Judge as well, and hence deals with other cases in that of Kati P. Chidambaram, and the cases of Irfan and INX Media particularly as well.
All right, now Ananya, can you tell us, also give us some details about what the AAP's legal options are with this case?
Well, yes, Manish Sisodia can definitely appeal for an anticipatory bail into this particular case post the searches have been conducted. And if at all he's called for questioning, he can also challenge these. If at all the Central Bureau of Investigation issues one against Mr. Sisodia. So these are the legal options available with him. And remember that we had broken it down from our viewers that Mr. Sisodia is also, the Aam Aadmi Party legal cell is also in touch with Mr. Kapil Sibal, senior advocate, who is advising them with regards to the legal route available into this particular matter. And later on, a meeting was also held wherein the lacunas of law and whatever can be done further is also discussed into this particular game as well.
Now, Ananya, what I'm seeing in this search list that was essentially a search warrant that was given, it included the search of certain documents, property papers, and a bunch of newspapers. But the CBI had seized a phone and a laptop as well. Now, is that something that Sisodia can then challenge?
Not particularly, because remember that this cannot be challenged as this is the preliminary search. That's what the CBI wants to, in fact, confiscate. But then when the CBI goes for a search, they can basically search warrant gives the power to investigating officers to go search premises. These are the preliminary documents that the CBI might have indications these would entail to something, but then now after a search is conducted, the CBI officer is under the law is empowered to search whatever he feels that is important for the case, and in fact can be helpful with regards to bringing down this whole criminal conspiracy that is there into this particular case.
All right, now going across to our colleague Rupashri Nanda, who joins us from the Aam Aadmi Party office. Rupashri, what is the kind of firefighting that is currently taking place at the office, and are they confident that they will be able to counter these allegations? Because when it comes to the ED, we know that the conviction rate is dismally low, but the CBI actually has a conviction rate of over 65%. So the fact that there is a case against them already, results in besmirching the name, but also how formidable is the case against them, do they believe?
Well, the initial information of what I picked up from the Aam Aadmi Party people or sources is that after a look at the FIR, the Aam Aadmi Party is not really that worried. Because it does not actually pin down the trail of money to be going to Sisodia. In fact, what they've said essentially is that A gave money to B on behalf of C, and C is close to Manish Sisodia. So that is a kind of convoluted FIR that has come in. It is not a very simple thing to understand. So the Aam Aadmi Party, after a look at the FIR, is not actually very unnerved. What it is looking at is whether the CBI is going to arrest Manish Sisodia. Does the CBI have the confidence that it has the evidence to arrest Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia and defend that arrest in a court of law? Secondly, if the CBI does not do that and simply keeps on summoning Manish Sisodia for questioning, then will Manish Sisodia then be targeted by the enforcement directorate under very severe laws, in which as I have pointed out early in the morning also, getting a bail is very difficult. That is what has happened with the other minister, Satyendra Jain. He has been in Delhi. He has been in jail for months together now. and even now there is no certainty of whether he is going to emerge or not. So what is the situation that the Aam Aadmi Party is looking at? Aam Aadmi Party is actually preparing itself for a possible arrest of Manish Sisodia and of him being in jail, not just for a few days but for a couple of months probably. That is the worst case scenario, and in case that happens, that battle is going to go on in the court. Aam Aadmi Party is going to fight it out politically in Delhi, in the national capital. All its leaders are going to fight it out politically. It is going, and the Aam Aadmi Party also has to ensure that the work in Delhi does not suffer. And for that, Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal will have to take certain steps as to who then he trusts with all those portfolios, nearly 16 that Sisodia is now handling, because Delhi cabinet is not a big cabinet. It is actually a very small cabinet. 10% of 70 members actually go on to become ministers.
मैं एक तो कल अमेरिका के एक सबसे बड़े अखबार और दुनिया के बहुत नामचीन अखबार न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स में कल एक खबर छपी थी जिसमें दिल्ली के एजुकेशन मॉडल को फ्रंट पेज पे कवर किया गया है। ये भारत के लिए बहुत बड़ी बात है, बहुत गर्व की बात है कि देश का एजुकेशन मॉडल उस तरफ जा रहा है जहां दुनिया उसकी चर्चा कर रही है। भारत के एजुकेशन मॉडल में दुनिया को कुछ ऐसा दिखाई दे रहा है, दुनिया के सबसे बड़े अखबारों को ऐसा दिखाई दे रहा है ताकि वो दुनिया को प्रेरित कर सकें, उससे दुनिया को बता सकें। ये हमारे लिए गर्व की बात है। अभी मैं ये देख रहा था कि इसी न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स के फ्रंट पेज पे करीब 1.5 साल पहले ये तस्वीर छपी थी, आपने भी देखा होगा, जिसमें कोविड के दौरान नदी के किनारे जलती हुई लाखों लाशों की तस्वीरें छपी थीं। कोविड के दौरान लाखों लाशें मां गंगा के किनारे पर किस तरह से गैर इंसानियत से जलाई गई थी, उसकी तस्वीर, उसकी खबर न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स में छपी थी 1.5 साल पहले। जब ये खबर हमने देखी थी और देश के लोगों ने देखी थी तो एक भारतीय के नाते थोड़ा अपने आप पे शर्म आई थी, अपनी गवर्नेंस पे शर्म आई थी, अपने मॉडल पे शर्म आई थी। दुनिया में कोविड हैंडल हो रहा था लेकिन हम ऐसे हैंडल कर रहे थे, इस पे शर्म आई थी कि भारत में कोविड ऐसे हैंडल हो रहा है। कल जब ये खबर छपी तो एक भारतीय के नाते सबको गर्व हुआ कि भारत में एजुकेशन का ऐसा मॉडल है जिसको न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स जैसे अखबार फ्रंट पेज पे लीड स्टोरी बना बना के पूरी पिक्चर और पूरी स्टोरी छाप रहे हैं, इतना बड़ा आर्टिकल छाप रहे हैं। ये मेरे लिए भी गर्व की बात है, लेकिन मैं बहुत विनम्रता के साथ कहना चाहता हूँ कि ये खबर मेरी उपलब्धि नहीं है। ये खबर मेरी वजह से नहीं छपी कि मैंने कुछ ऐसा कर दिया जिसकी तारीफ हो रही है। ये एक्चुअली दिल्ली के टीचर्स की तारीफ है। तो आज जब न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स के फ्रंट पेज पे दिल्ली के टीचर्स का काम छप रहा है और सारी दुनिया उनकी तारीफ कर रही है, तो मैं दिल्ली के टीचर्स को बहुत बहुत बधाई देना चाहता हूँ। मैं उनको कहना चाहता हूँ कि इसी तरह से लगे रहिए। लाखों करोड़ों बच्चे, आने वाली पीढ़ियाँ इस बात को याद रखेंगी कि दिल्ली के टीचर्स ने और दिल्ली के बच्चों ने इतनी मेहनत की कि उनका काम दुनिया में, सारी दुनिया के सर चढ़ के बोला, सारी दुनिया में भारत की तारीफ का कारण बना। ये हम सब के लिए और ख़ासतौर से हमारे टीचर्स के लिए गर्व की बात है। कल मेरे घर CBI के ऑफिसर्स आए थे और दिल्ली सचिवालय में मेरे जो एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर का डिप्टी CM का ऑफिस है, वहां पर भी उन्होंने रेड की थी। सारे ऑफिसर्स दोनों जगह बहुत अच्छे लोग थे, बहुत अच्छे से सबने बहुत व्यवहार किया। उनको ऊपर से ऑर्डर्स हैं, उसकी तामील उनको करनी है। जो भी उनसे सही गलत कराया जा रहा है वो ऊपर के ऑर्डर से कराया जा रहा है। लेकिन मैं व्यक्तिगत रूप से खुद और अपने परिवार की तरफ से उन तमाम CBI ऑफिसर्स का बहुत धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूं जिन्होंने कल बहुत अच्छे से मेरे परिवार के साथ व्यवहार करते हुए मेरे घर को सर्च किया। और मुझे व्यक्तिगत रूप से उनसे मिलकर अच्छा लगा। CBI कोई अपने घर पे नहीं चाहता है, लेकिन अच्छे लोग थे, अच्छा लगा। जिस एक्साइज पॉलिसी के बारे में ये सारा विवाद खड़ा किया जा रहा है, मैं उसके बारे में कहना चाहता हूं कि वो इस देश की सबसे बेस्ट एक्साइज पॉलिसी है और उस पॉलिसी को हम पूरी ट्रांसपेरेंसी और पूरी ईमानदारी से लागू कर रहे थे और बहुत ईमानदारी से वो पॉलिसी तैयार की गई। अगर दिल्ली के एलजी साहब ने 48 घंटे पहले उस पॉलिसी को फेल करने की साजिश के तहत अपना फैसला नहीं बदला होता तो आज दिल्ली सरकार को इस बेस्ट एक्साइज पॉलिसी से कम 10,000 करोड़ रुपए हर साल मिल रहे होते। ये लोग कह रहे हैं कि इस पॉलिसी में बहुत बड़ा घोटाला हो गया। कल मैं मनोज तिवारी जी का एक प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस देखा मैंने। मनोज तिवारी जी कह रहे थे कि 8,000 करोड़ का घोटाला हो गया है एक्साइज पॉलिसी। मनीष सिसोदिया ने 8,000 करोड़ का घोटाला किया। फिर थोड़ी देर बाद बीजेपी के और एक नेता आए प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस करने या शायद किसी मीडिया में बात करने, वो बोले 1100 करोड़ का घोटाला मनीष सिसोदिया ने किया है। फिर मैं सोच रहा था कि एलजी साहब ने जो प्रेस रिलीज जारी किया था उसमें उन्होंने लिखा था 144 करोड़ का घोटाला कर दिया मनीष सिसोदिया ने। कल फिर जब सीबीआई के ऑफिसर्स आए तो वो एफआईआर लेके आए थे, उसमें ना 8,000 करोड़ का जिक्र था ना 1100 करोड़ का जिक्र था। उसमें लिखा था सोर्सेज कह रहे हैं कि 1 करोड़ का घोटाला हुआ है। सोर्सेज कह रहे हैं कि 1 करोड़ का घोटाला हुआ है, ये सीबीआई की एफआईआर कह रही है। इसमें ना 144 करोड़ का जिक्र है, ना 11,000 करोड़ का जिक्र है, 1100 करोड़ का, ना 8,000 करोड़ का मनोज तिवारी जी वाला जिक्र है। मैं कह रहा हूं कि ये सब बकवास है। ये सब बकवास कर रहे हैं। इस पूरी पॉलिसी में कोई घोटाला नहीं हुआ। बहुत शानदार पॉलिसी है और जो ये लोग कह रहे हैं इनको ना तो कुछ पता है ना इन्होंने कुछ पढ़ा है। बस इनको तो कहीं से कोई स्क्रिप्ट जो दी जाती है ये उसको रटते हैं। मैं आज आपको बताता हूं कि इस पूरे शोर शराबे के पीछे असली कहानी क्या है, इसका सच क्या है। सच ये है कि मुद्दा शराब का घोटाला है ही नहीं। इनको शराब के किसी घोटाले की चिंता नहीं है, इनको घोटाले की चिंता नहीं है। अगर इनको शराब के घोटाले की चिंता होती तो गुजरात में हर साल 10,000 करोड़ रुपए की एक्साइज चोरी होती है। अगर शराब की एक्साइज की चोरी की अगर चिंता इनको होती, एक्साइज के घोटाले की इनको चिंता होती, तो आज ये सीबीआई का पूरा हेडक्वार्टर गुजरात में शिफ्ट करा देते 10,000 करोड़ का घोटाला रोकने के लिए। और यही लोग करवा रहे हैं, जो लोग सीबीआई को इंस्ट्रक्शंस दे रहे हैं ना, यही लोग गुजरात में 10,000 करोड़ रुपए की एक्साइज की चोरी कर रहे हैं। लेकिन इनको घोटाले की चिंता नहीं है। शराब की एक्साइज की पॉलिसी में हो रही चोरी की किसी की चिंता नहीं है, क्योंकि गुजरात में 10,000 करोड़ की चोरी हो रही है। वहां सीबीआई नहीं भेजते। अगर घोटाले की चिंता होती तो ईडी का दफ्तर वहां खुल जाता, ईडी का पूरा हेडक्वार्टर वहां शिफ्ट हो जाता। वहां नहीं हो रही कोई धरपकड़। इसलिए मुद्दा तो करप्शन है ही नहीं, मुद्दा तो शराब का घोटाला है ही नहीं, मुद्दा तो घोटाला है ही नहीं। अगर मुद्दा घोटाला होता तो प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कुछ दिन पहले बुंदेलखंड एक्सप्रेसवे का उद्घाटन किया था। आप सबने देखा था, आप सबने दिखाया था, सारे मीडिया ने चलाया था और सारे मीडिया ने देश के बहुत शोर से बताया कि प्रधानमंत्री जी ने जिस हाईवे का एक्सप्रेसवे का उद्घाटन किया था 5 दिन के अंदर अंदर वो पूरी तरह से धंस गया। बहुत बड़ा घोटाला हुआ वो एक्सप्रेसवे बनाने में, हाईवे बनाने में। अगर मुद्दा करप्शन होता तो आज सीबीआई और ईडी प्रधानमंत्री द्वारा उद्घाटित किए गए उस महामार्ग के घोटालेबाजों को पकड़ रही होती, उनके घर रेड कर रही होती, जिन्होंने इतना बड़ा घोटाला कर दिया कि प्रधानमंत्री जी ने जिस एक्सप्रेसवे का उद्घाटन किया 5 दिन में धंस गया। वो है घोटाला। लेकिन जैसा मैं कह रहा हूं, मुद्दा घोटाला है ही नहीं। शराब या एक्साइज की चोरी इनकी परेशानी है ही नहीं। इनकी परेशानी है अरविंद केजरीवाल। इनकी परेशानी है कि अरविंद केजरीवाल जिस तरह से अब पूरे देश में एक काम करने वाले ईमानदार नेता के रूप में पहचान बनाते जा रहे हैं और पूरे देश के लोग अब उनको पसंद करने लगे, इनकी परेशानी ये है। और पंजाब के बाद तो पूरे देश में अरविंद केजरीवाल जी को एक राष्ट्रीय विकल्प के रूप में देखा जाने लगा है। इनकी परेशानी ये है। ये जो पूरी कार्रवाई मेरे खिलाफ हो रही है, ये जो पूरी कार्रवाई मेरे दफ्तर में हो रही है, मेरे घर में रेड डाली जा रही है, ये हो ही इसलिए रही है कि अरविंद केजरीवाल जी को रोकना चाहते हैं। ये अरविंद केजरीवाल जी को रोकने की जो साजिश रची जा रही है उसी स्क्रिप्ट का हिस्सा है। आप सब जानते हैं, देश जानता है कि अरविंद केजरीवाल जी की सबसे बड़ी ताकत है कि वो एक बहुत कट्टर ईमानदार नेता है। अरविंद केजरीवाल जी की दूसरी सबसे बड़ी ताकत है कि उनको काम करना और काम करवाना आता है। उनको दिल्ली का एजुकेशन ठीक करके उन्होंने दिखा दिया कि एजुकेशन कैसे ठीक होता है। उन्होंने हेल्थ ठीक करके दिखा दिया कि हेल्थ सिस्टम कैसे ठीक होता है। आज दुनिया भर में मैंने दिखाया आपको, आज अरविंद केजरीवाल जी की वजह से दुनिया भर में भारत का नाम रोशन हो रहा है। इसलिए आज ये इत्तेफाक नहीं है कि हेल्थ और एजुकेशन पर दुनिया भर में भारत का नाम रोशन करने वाले अरविंद केजरीवाल जी के हेल्थ मिनिस्टर के छापे डाले जा रहे हैं, उनको जेल में डाला जा रहा है। उनके एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर के छापे डाले जा रहे हैं, उनको मुझे जेल में डालने की तैयारी की जा रही है। मेरी गलती ये थोड़ी ना है, वो भी जानते हैं कि कोई भ्रष्टाचार नहीं हुआ। इनको पता है कि कोई भ्रष्टाचार नहीं हुआ, इसीलिए उलझुल बके जाते हैं। इनको मैंने भ्रष्टाचार नहीं किया, मैंने सिर्फ इतना किया है कि अरविंद केजरीवाल जी का एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर हूं मैं, इसलिए ये कर रहे हैं, इसलिए ये साजिश रची जा रही है। इन्होंने पहले अरविंद केजरीवाल जी के हेल्थ मिनिस्टर को गिरफ्तार किया, फिर कल मेरे यहां रेड डाल दी, अब 2-4 दिन में मुझको भी गिरफ्तार कर लेंगे। तो हेल्थ और एजुकेशन मॉडल जो है अरविंद केजरीवाल जी का, इनका मकसद है कि उसको रोका जाए। मैं कहना चाहता हूं कि देश के प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी को पूरे देश ने इतना बड़ा जनमत दिया है, ये शोभा नहीं देता प्रधानमंत्री जी को, नरेंद्र मोदी जी को ये शोभा नहीं देता कि वो इस तरह की छोटी छोटी सोच रखते हैं कि कोई आदमी काम करे तो उसके हेल्थ के काम को रोक लो, एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर को जेल में डालो, हेल्थ मिनिस्टर को जेल में डालो, क्योंकि वो अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि सारी दुनिया में तारीफ हो रही है। अरविंद केजरीवाल जी में और नरेंद्र मोदी जी में मैं आज रखना चाहता हूं आपके सामने कि अरविंद केजरीवाल जी और नरेंद्र मोदी जी में यही फर्क है। केजरीवाल जी को अगर कोई अच्छा काम करते हुए दिखता है तो केजरीवाल जी उसकी प्रशंसा करते हैं, उससे प्रेरणा लेते हैं, उसकी तारीफ करके उसका हौसला बढ़ाते हैं और खुद उससे सीख के खुद करना चाहते हैं। मोदी जी का रुख यह है कि उनको अगर कोई अच्छा काम करता हुआ दिखता है तो वो उसके काम को रोकना चाहते हैं, उसके काम को साजिश के तहत रोक के उसके लोगों को और उसको सीबीआई और ईडी का डर दिखा के उसको रोकना चाहते हैं। 2 दिन पहले अरविंद केजरीवाल जी ने मेक इन इंडिया कैंपेन लॉन्च किया। देश को नंबर 1 बनाना है, शिक्षा के जरिए, स्वास्थ्य के जरिए, रोजगार के जरिए। इस पे तो सारे देश को गर्व है। इस पे मोदी जी को भी गर्व होना चाहिए कि हमारे देश का एक मुख्यमंत्री मेक इंडिया नंबर 1 कैंपेन लॉन्च कर रहे हैं। हेल्थ और एजुकेशन के जरिए एक देश का विकास करने का विजन लेके चल रहे हैं। मोदी जी को तो इनको सपोर्ट करना चाहिए था। लेकिन जिस दिन अरविंद केजरीवाल जी ने मेक इंडिया नंबर 1 कैंपेन जारी किया, उसके 2 दिन के अंदर अंदर मोदी जी ने केजरीवाल जी के एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर के यहाँ पे सीबीआई की रेड करवा दी। केजरीवाल जी गरीबों के लिए, आम मिडिल क्लास आम आदमी के लिए काम करते हैं, उसके लिए सोचते हैं। मोदी जी केवल और केवल अपने कुछ करोड़पति अरबपति लोगों के लिए, अपने कुछ अरबपति दोस्तों के लिए सोचते हैं, उनके लिए काम करते हैं। केजरीवाल जी 24 घंटे देश के लिए सोचते हैं कि कैसे देश को आगे बढ़ाया जाए, कैसे सारे बच्चों को अच्छी शिक्षा दी जाए, कैसे किसी गरीब से गरीब आदमी का इलाज करवा दिया जाए। मोदी जी 24 घंटे ये सोचते हैं कि कौन से राज्य में पोजीशन की सरकार है, उसको पैसे देके या सीबीआई का डर दिखा के या ईडी का डर दिखा के कैसे उसको गिरा दिया जाए। मोदी जी 24 घंटे ये सोचते रहते हैं। जिस तरह से इन्होंने पिछले दिनों में पैसे के दम पे, ईडी के दम पे, सीबीआई के दम पे कई सरकारें गिराई हैं, आप सबने भी रिपोर्ट किया है। महाराष्ट्र में, गोवा में, तमाम बिहार में भी किया था इन्होंने, कर्नाटक में किया, मध्य प्रदेश में किया। पूरे देश के लोग इनसे अब दुखी हैं कि यार हम सरकार चुनते हैं, मोदी जी केवल 24 घंटे उसको गिराने में लगे रहते हैं। अरे आपको देश का प्रधानमंत्री बनाया, आप देश के लिए अच्छा सोचो। जिनको हमने राज्य के लिए किया है उसको राज्य के लिए अच्छा सोचें। मोदी जी केवल सीबीआई, ईडी, पैसा सब लगा के, साम दाम दंड भेद लगा के केवल सरकारें गिराने का 24 घंटे सपना देखते हैं। उसके अलावा मोदी जी को कोई सपना ही नहीं आता आजकल। मैं आज आपके सामने कहना चाहता हूं कि 2024 का चुनाव आम आदमी पार्टी वर्सेस भारतीय जनता पार्टी होने जा रहा है। अब तक लोग पूछते थे कि मोदी वर्सेस हु, अब पूरे देश में माहौल बन रहा है कि मोदी जी नहीं चाहिए, अरविंद केजरीवाल जी को एक मौका देना है, एक मौका अरविंद केजरीवाल जी को देना है। अब ये बात पूरे देश से गूंजने लगी है। पूरा देश आज अरविंद केजरीवाल जी के साथ चल रहा है, इसलिए मोदी जी आज रोकना चाहते हैं। आज से 3-4 दिन के अंदर, हो सकता है आज कल परसों में, कभी भी ये सीबीआई ईडी भेज के मुझे भी गिरफ्तार कर लेंगे, कई सारे और आप नेताओं को भी गिरफ्तार कर लेंगे। लेकिन मैं कहना चाहता हूं कि हम भगत सिंह के फॉलोअर हैं, हम अपने आप को भगत सिंह की संतान मानते हैं। हम डरने वाले नहीं हैं तुम्हारी सीबीआई से, तुम्हारी ईडी से, तुम्हारे पैसे के आगे बिकने वाले नहीं है। हमको नहीं तोड़ पाओगे तुम, हमको नहीं झुका पाओगे। आज मैं कह रहा हूं, हम देश के लिए जान भी कुर्बान करेंगे, हम देश के लिए जेल भी जाएंगे, लेकिन लाखों बच्चों का भविष्य संवारना बंद नहीं करेंगे, करोड़ों लोगों के इलाज के लिए काम कराना बंद नहीं करेंगे। आज हमारे साथ अरविंद केजरीवाल जी के साथ लाखों बच्चों की दुआएं हैं, करोड़ों लोगों की दुआएं हैं, करोड़ों पेरेंट्स की दुआएं हैं। हम आपसे डरने वाले नहीं है। अगला चुनाव तो अब मोदी वर्सेस अरविंद केजरीवाल होकर रहेगा। धन्यवाद।
मनीष जी, जब आप ये बात कर रहे हैं, तो सवाल ये उठते हैं कि भीड़ जो हुई वो एक्साइज पॉलिसी को लेकर हुई और आप एजुकेशन और हेल्थ पे चले जाते हैं। ये नहीं बता रहे कि आपने जो पॉलिसी में लास्ट में बंद करके पुरानी पॉलिसी को शुरू किया, उससे आपको अगर फायदा था तो आपने बदली क्यों?
देखो, मैं भी बोला कि मुद्दा तो एक्साइज पॉलिसी या भ्रष्टाचार है ही नहीं तो अगर एक्साइज पॉलिसी का भ्रष्टाचार होता तो आज गुजरात में रेड हो रही होती। हुज ट्रेजेडी हो गई गुजरात में। कौन कर रहा है वहां पे? सीबीआई रेड नहीं कर रहे, वहां पे ईडी रेड नहीं कर रही, यहाँ पे हो रही है ईडी सीबीआई रेड। मुझे जेल भेजेंगे, उन लोगों को जेल भेजते। इनके ही तो लोग हैं वो करा रहे हैं, 10,000 करोड़ की चोरी कर ले रहे हैं, लोग मरवा रहे हैं। तो मुद्दा तो असली है कि अरविंद केजरीवाल को कैसे रोकना है।
बीजेपी पहले दिन से ही आरोप लगा रही है कि 144 करोड़ रुपए जो हैं खातों के रिफंड किए गए और ये चीफ सेक्रेटरी की रिपोर्ट में भी ये वाली बात है, जिसके
मैं कह रहा हूं ये सीबीआई की एफआईआर है। इसमें मनोज तिवारी के 8,000 करोड़ का घोटाला कहाँ है? इसमें बीजेपी के नेताओं के 1100 करोड़ वाला घोटाला कहाँ है जो कह रहे हैं? इसमें वो 140 करोड़ का घोटाला कहाँ है? बताएं। इसमें लिखा है कि सोर्सेज कह रहे हैं कि 1 करोड़ का घोटाला हुआ है।
सीबीआई के एफआईआर में ये कहा है कि पब्लिक सर्वेंट ने इनसे पॉलिसी को बनाते हुए अंडू टेबल से मिडलमैन और उसको इसमें समीर महेंद्रू है, उससे जो एक पैसा ट्रांसफर किया 1 करोड़ रुपए, वो दिनेश अरोड़ा की आम आदमी पार्टी के लीडर का बड़ा करीबी है। सर, क्या संबंध है? अरोड़ा को जानते हैं?
क्या ये
क्या है?
मैं तो कह रहा हूं अगर मुद्दा घोटाला होता तो आज सीबीआई बड़े बड़े जो किंग पिंस 10,000 करोड़ का घोटाला कर रहे हैं उनके यहाँ बैठे होते। मेरे यहाँ किसी के यहाँ बैठे हैं, उनको भी पता है कि घोटाला नहीं है, बैठे हैं, ठीक है। थैंक यू।
So that was Manish Sisodia there holding a press conference and summing up his counters to all the allegations. Most importantly, he spoke about that FIR that was filed by the CBI. He says while the BJP is alleging that thousands of crores of scams have been done, the fact is that in that FIR, it just says 1 crore was, perhaps sources say that 1 crore was transferred by somebody close to Manish Sisodia, and that is the most that the FIR says. And with this regard, I'm going across to my colleague Rupashri Nanda to sum up the crux of Manish Sisodia's counters. Rupashri, he very pertinently spoke about the fact that all those allegations of thousands of crores that are coming from BJP are somehow not there in that FIR from the CBI.
Absolutely. In fact, as I have been pointing out also since morning, Aam Aadmi Party's sources and leaders, when they have had a look at the FIR, they do not find those specifics being mentioned in the FIR, as has been discussed by various BJP leaders and as it has also been discussed in the press and the media. But the big takeaway from Manish Sisodia's press conference was one line: "मैं भ्रष्ट नहीं हूँ, मैं केजरीवाल का शिक्षा मंत्री हूँ." So essentially, he is defending himself. He is also defending the excise policy, and that is extremely important coming at a time when Sisodia himself is under the scanner and there are mounting questions on Delhi government's own excise policy. So even at this point, Manish Sisodia is saying that it is actually the country's best excise policy and would have succeeded had the then Lieutenant Governor of Delhi, Anil Baijal, not put a spanner in the works in the last 48 hours. The third big takeaway, of course, is that Manish Sisodia is completely targeting the BJP again. I remember the press clipping that he showed you at the beginning of the press conference, and that is a press clipping of COVID times. At that particular time, the government of India was actually not at all happy with that sort of a picture coming out of India and published in an international newspaper. So Manish Sisodia is trying to draw a parallel between the story that was published during COVID times by New York Times and the story that was published now of the Delhi government's work in schools. The big takeaway, of course, is that he himself said that the CBI is going to arrest me in 2 to 3 days or 4 days. He is going to be arrested. That is what he has said. He also went on to say that not just me, even other Aam Aadmi Party leaders are going to be arrested. And he tried to make the point that this issue is not about corruption. His argument was that if it was about corruption, then there would have been investigations also, similar investigations also when other big things have happened. For instance, the collapse of a part of the Bundelkhand expressway after it was inaugurated by the Prime Minister, or the huge tragedy in Gujarat, and why there is Gujarat being a dry state, there's loss of revenue to the tune, he said, of 10,000 crores, but no ED action happens over there, no CBI action happens over there. So Manish Sisodia bracing himself for an arrest which seems absolutely imminent. Manish Sisodia defending his excise policy ahead of that possible arrest. Manish Sisodia saying that he has been targeted and Satyendra Jain have been targeted because of the Delhi government's school model and Delhi government's work in education and health, and he is clearly saying and defending himself by saying that he is not corrupt. So that was the press conference that came out from that Manish Sisodia said on absolutely expected lines, and Sisodia also said that inki parishani Arvind Kejriwal hai. So they are actually rattled by Arvind Kejriwal. They are not rattled with issues of corruption that is happening across the country. And he also tried to make the point that Aam Aadmi Party has been making since yesterday, that 2024 will be a Modi versus Kejriwal battle. Now, this is something that the Aam Aadmi Party is arguing. But I would
Rupashri, that was a big takeaway from the press conference that he held. He said that 2024 will be Arvind Kejriwal versus Narendra Modi, and especially after these raids, that's cemented the fact. I'm going across to my colleague Akash also to bring us more perspective. Akash, we had Manish Sisodia there saying we're not afraid of your agencies, we're not worried, we are followers of Bhagat Singh. But he's also confident that he is going to be arrested in the next 2-3 days. He said in the following days, you're going to see a lot of netas from AAP be arrested. But, despite them not being unafraid of arrest, this is going to be a big hampering to the party when it comes to establishing the national footprint or even a short-term goal, such as the Gujarat elections coming up in December.
Right, and Shilpa, as Rupashi mentioned, this press conference was very much on the expected lines, because this is what we were expecting. Straight from when this all started from 8 a.m., we are seeing that Aam Aadmi Party leaders are trying to set a narrative where they are saying that, Modi government is worried with the growing popularity of Arvind Kejriwal and the party, because initially starting from Delhi, this party won the election in Punjab, and now they are trying their level best in Gujarat and in Himachal Pradesh as well. But talking about this press conference, I'm not involved in any corruption. My only mistake is that I'm the education minister of the Arvind Kejriwal government. So this was main highlighted point of this press conference, where he is trying to say that just because I'm a minister in Delhi government, just because I'm a part of Aam Aadmi Party, that's the reason why I'm targeted as of now. Also, as Aam Aadmi Party is, trying to portray it as a Narendra Modi versus Arvind Kejriwal fight, that's the reason why this press conference was very much important, because you see many questions were asked, in fact, after the press conference, where specific allegations were asked about the guy Sandeep Arora and also some others. But, Manish Sisodia maintained that this is not about the corruption, or this is not about this particular excise policy, but just because I'm doing some good work. And it is important to mention here.
Alright, now the BJP hitting back at Manish Sisodia. BJP Shehzad Poonawala tweeted once again whataboutery and victimhood card. This is pathetic, Sisodia ji. So he had posed 15 questions via his Twitter handle, which don't seem to have been recognized or addressed by Manish Sisodia. And this is with regards to that. Shehzad Poonawalla on his Twitter handle has asked a lot of questions to Manish Sisodia. If I could just bring to you a couple of those questions. So we also know that he held a press conference yesterday where he also put these questions in front of the media. He asked Manish Sisodia, what is your rishta with accused number 11, Dinesh Arora? Now, Dinesh Arora is somebody who's named in the FIR as somebody that sources say that 1 crore had been routed through him by Sameer Mahendru of Khao Gali, who had been somebody who was blacklisted to give in to a public servant. Going across to my colleague Akash for more perspective on this. Akash, now Shehzad Poonawalla had posed some questions to the Aam Aadmi Party, and while Manish Sisodia didn't take it up, question by question, he has addressed some of them, such as his rishta with accused number 11. He did say that, sources say, that is the only allegation against me. And then, and also, Shehzad had asked, is it true that an illegal waiver was given to the tune of 144 crores? And Manish Sisodia said, those numbers are not there in the FIR. But Akash, what do you make of Sisodia's counter? Would you say it was quantitative or qualitative in nature?
So yes, I was starting this particular piece with the fact that Sisodia started the press conference with the piece of paper that was the report that was published in NYT as far as the allegations from Bharatiya Janata Party is concerned. So, even reporters asked him the very question that, Dinesh Arora is the one who is involved in all this and who is very much named in the FIR. But he ignored that question, in fact, and he said that, it's not about the scam or it's not about these facts that you are putting up. Also, he mentioned that none of these figures have been mentioned in the FIR. Instead, in FIR, they have mentioned that some source-based information, and on the basis of that particular FIR, they are saying that I'm the accused. So at this point in time, this was the a press conference, and we were expecting some figures and facts and figures related to the raid that was carried out yesterday, and also about this particular excise policy. But instead, Manish Sisodia made it a political press conference where he said that just because I'm a part of Aam Aadmi Party, just because I'm the part of Arvind Kejriwal government, Arvind Kejriwal's cabinet, that's the reason why they are targeting, and that's the reason why we are seeing that Shehzad Poonawalla is basically asking these 15 questions where he's in fact mentioning the rishta with the accused number 11 Dinesh Arora, also about the waivers of 144 crores that
Akash,
were very much
request
given.
you to stay with us because now we're also joined by Gaurav Bhatia from the BJP. A very good afternoon to you, sir. I'm sure you saw Manish Sisodia's press conference there. What did you make of it? Are you satisfied with some of the answers he gave you? He, in fact, is asking if the BJP is alleging a scam of to the tune of 8,000 crores or 10,000 crores, why is it not there in the FIR? And why in the FIR does it just mention 1 crore? And that too sources saying a crore taken by someone close to me. All right, so let's try to re-establish that connection with him. That was Gaurav Bhatia, the BJP spokesperson. While we try to re-establish that connection, that was Manish Sisodia there. He started his press conference by showing that New York Times article, which had been published just 2 days ago, and questioned the timing of these raids. He said that the ruling party was rattled, which is why they've sent the agencies after them. He said that he does expect a lot of the leaders from AAP to be arrested. Also took a line of honesty and integrity by... Okay, now we're joined by Mr. Gaurav Bhatia again. Very good afternoon to you, sir. If you can hear my question, one question that was put across by Manish Sisodia in that press conference was, if the BJP is alleging a scam to the tune of thousands of crores, 10,000 crores, then why does that FIR only mention a crore, and that too allegedly taken by someone close to me, said so by sources? He's asking, why does the FIR not have anything more?
Like any other citizen, very attentively, I heard Manish Sisodia. And it seems that after the press conference, it is clear that he has been caught with his hand in the cookie jar. The merits of the case warrant a response on merit, not whataboutery, not showing of New York Times. And he had nothing to say on the question that why was the excise policy withdrawn after the registration of the FIR. He had nothing to say why 144 crore was waived off, why 30 crore fine that was there was also waived. And I must tell Manish Sisodia and Arvind Kejriwal that FIR is not an encyclopedia. And he is again wrong when he says that there is only mention of 1 crore. That shows that either they have not read the FIR or the contents have baffled them, so they have no answers. And I will only say that Arvind Kejriwal is the most corrupt chief minister that Delhi has ever seen. And thus, he is the one behind this scam. The CBI is doing its job and nobody would be spared.
So he's also questioning the timing of these raids. He's saying that the BJP is rattled because they feel 2024 is going to be a fight between Modi and Kejriwal.
No, I remember when Kejriwal, in the same pompous manner, contested from Banaras. He lost. They went to Uttar Pradesh. Their candidates forfeited their deposit. Goa, they lost. Uttarakhand, they lost. So, in the eyes of Arvind Kejriwal is the US president. But in the eyes of people of India, he is a corrupt politician who is indulging in rampant corruption and looting the people of Delhi. And nobody would be spared. He cannot shield Satinder Jain, who is behind bars from the last 3 months, or Manish Sisodia, who is being interrogated.
Sir, and he's also brought up Satinder Jain. He said Delhi government has been praised on the legs of health and education, and it is exactly there where the ruling party wants to hit them. What do you have to respond to that?
So my final response to that query would be that we have to trust the courts of the country. As I said earlier, almost 3 months and Satinder Jain has not even been granted bail. And a certificate was issued by Arvind Kejriwal saying he's Kattar Imandar. We all know they are all Kattar Baiman. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for taking time out. That was Gaurav Bhatia there, talking about the press conference that Manish Sisodia had taken. He said all those questions asked by the BJP have not been answered. Now, going across to my colleague Rupashri Nanda for more context on this. Rupashri, the fact is that AAP had yesterday addressed some of those questions. They said, we had to roll back to the old excise policy because the LG had, struck down some of the, powers of the new excise policy and did not let us implement it in full. And they also say that the violations... All right. Let's me go across to Alka Lamba, who joins me from the Congress, in fact. Ma'am, we saw the protests that were taking place today. There was effigy burning, there was sloganeering. And in fact, you also believe that there has been a huge corruption when it comes to the liquor excise policy. What did you make of the press conference taken by Manish Sisodia today?
देखिए उनकी प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस देखकर मुझे हंसी आ रही थी. ये मजाक है, ये भद्दा मजाक है ना. आप कह रहे हैं 2024 में अरविंद केजरीवाल, अरे नैतिकता बची हो तो इस्तीफा दीजिए तुरंत मनीष सिसोदिया जी. 2 महीने से दिल्ली के स्वास्थ्य मंत्री जेल में हैं, अभी तक इस्तीफा नहीं हुआ है. ये वो पार्टी जो जन लोकपाल, अन्ना आंदोलन, भ्रष्टाचार, रामलीला मैदान, डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह जी, शीला दीक्षित जी को बदनाम करके आए थे, और आज कह रहे हैं हम 2024 का चेहरा है. क्या भविष्य है दिल्ली और देश का, जिसके नेता कट्टर ईमानदार कह रहे थे और वो मुखौटा उतर गया है. कट्टर बेईमान चेहरा अब सामने आ गया. नैतिकता तो बची नहीं, वरना अभी तक पंजाब का मंत्री अंदर गया इनका, जेल में है, दिल्ली का स्वास्थ्य मंत्री जेल में है, और अब बिल्कुल मनीष सिसोदिया जाएंगे. वो शिक्षा नीति के पीछे छुपे नहीं. बात शिक्षा की नहीं हो रही है, बात आपकी एक्साइज, आपकी आबकार नीति, आपकी शराब नीति की हो रही है, जिसमें आपने 144 करोड़ रुपए का चूना सरकारी खजाने को लगाया है। आपने शराब माफियाओं को नियमों को ताक पे रखकर दिल्ली में एक के साथ एक शराब की बोतल फ्री, युवाओं की उम्र 25 से घटाकर 21, ऐसा भविष्य देश को देंगे आप। तो मुझे लगता है कि अपना थोड़ी सी भी शर्म हो, नैतिकता हो, इस्तीफा दीजिए। और अगर आप सीबीआई, ईडी का सामना करिए ना, हम भी कर रहे हैं। और अगर आपको लगता है कि उनका दुरुपयोग कर रही है केंद्र की सरकार, तो लड़िए ना कांग्रेस की तरह सड़कों पर आकर। लेकिन अरविंद केजरीवाल, मनीष सिसोदिया से पहले जो सत्येंद्र जैन जेल में, उन्हें भूल चुके हैं। 2 महीने से अरविंद केजरीवाल जी सड़कों पर नहीं आए हैं, ना उनका कार्यकर्ता आया है, आपके मंत्री को बिठाया हुआ है। कोर्ट आपसे कह रहा है नैतिकता बची हो, मंत्रालय कैसे चल रहा है दिल्ली का स्वास्थ्य, आपका मंत्री जेल में है, हटाइए वरना कोर्ट हटा देगा। तो ऐसा भविष्य देश जो है आप दे रहे हैं, जिनके मंत्री, और शर्म आती है, भगत सिंह जी का नाम किस जुबान से आप लेते हैं? इनसे पूछिए। पंजाब में जो नशा माफिया हमने जेल भेजा, एफआईआर किया, उसको अभी बेल इन्होंने दिलवा कर रिहा कर दिया है। उसी को जिससे इन्होंने लिखित में माफी मांगी थी, शराब के पहले नशे के आरोप लगाए, फिर लिखित में माफी मांगी, हमारे पास सबूत नहीं है। ऐसा पंजाब और देश का भविष्य, भगत सिंह का देश ऐसा नहीं हो सकता। भगत सिंह अंग्रेजों से लड़ते हुए देश के लिए अंदर गए थे, और आपके नेता भ्रष्टाचार में, दलाली खाने में एक के बाद एक सबूतों के साथ पकड़े जा रहे हैं और जेल में जा रहे हैं। तो भगत सिंह का बार बार नाम लेकर मुझे लगता है ये भगत सिंह जी का अपमान कर रहे हैं, ये उनके पांव की धूल भी नहीं है। तो अरविंद केजरीवाल जी, थोड़ी भी नैतिकता और शर्म हो, इस्तीफा लीजिए अपने स्वास्थ्य मंत्री सत्येंद्र जैन जी और अपने डेप्यूटी चीफ मिनिस्टर मनीष सिसोदिया का तुरंत इस्तीफा होना चाहिए।
अलका जी, पर उन्होंने कुछ मुद्दे जो उन्होंने जिस मुद्दे के बारे में बात की है, जैसे कि बुंदेलखंड एक्सप्रेसवे, जहाँ पे बस 1 हफ्ते में पॉट होल्स हैं, और गुजरात हूच ट्रेजेडी, ऐसे मुद्दों पे क्या आप सहमत हैं? डू यू अग्री विथ हिम? डू यू हैव एनी कॉमन ग्राउंड्स व्हेन इट कम्स टू एटलीस्ट दीज इश्यूज दैट ही रेज्ड?
देखिए, मैं फिर कहूंगी, आप चीजों को उन्हें कहिए, मिक्स मत करें। भाजपा ने विकास नहीं विनाश किया है देश में, ये हम सब जानते हैं। अर्थव्यवस्था डूब गई, रुपया डूब गया है, बेरोजगारी, महंगाई अपने चरम पर है। मैं अभी हिमाचल के सोलन का नेशनल हाईवे का 2 फाड़ होते हुए से डूबते हुए देखा है मैंने। करोड़ों रुपया विकास के नाम पर भाजपा ने क्या किया, लेकिन आप उसके पीछे छुप नहीं सकते हैं। सबसे बड़ी बात, आप अरविंद केजरीवाल वो जो है वो है, उससे कांग्रेस लड़ रही है, आप नहीं लड़ रहे थे, हम ही लड़ रहे थे। आप तो इन्हें उत्तराखंड, गोवा में जिताने के लिए गए थे, और भाजपा जहां हार रही थी, हिमाचल की तरह हार रही थी अपना गोवा और उत्तराखंड, आप गए, भाजपा को जिता कर लौटते हैं आप। अभी वही खेल इनका गुजरात हिमाचल शुरू हो चुका है। अब सीबीआई अगर इनको अरेस्ट नहीं करती तो पिछले दरवाजे समझौते हो रहे होंगे गुजरात हिमाचल को लेकर, जहां पर जनता ने मन बना लिया है महंगाई और बेरोजगारी के चलते भाजपा की डबल इंजन की सरकार हराना है। लेकिन ये उन्हें बचाने के लिए वहां जाएंगे, अपना जनाधार कुछ नहीं है। जो मॉडल दिल्ली का है वो देख रहा है हवाएं जहरीली विश्व की। न्यूयॉर्क टाइम ने ये भी बताया, दिल्ली की हवाएं विश्व में सबसे ज्यादा जहरीली है, रोज लोगों की मौत उससे हो रही है। यमुना का पानी प्रदूषित है, कोरोना महामारी में ऑक्सीजन के बिना दम तोड़ते हुए हमने दिल्ली के लोगों को देखा है। क्या मॉडल था आपका? मॉडल तो शीला दीक्षित खड़ा करके गई 15 साल में। वही शराब नीति जिसको आप भ्रष्ट बताते रहे, आपको वही लागू करनी पड़ी। अगर आप ईमानदार थे, सीबीआई की जांच के बाद आपने अपनी नीति वापस क्यों ले ली? आपकी तो वो शराब नीति फायदे वाली थी, ईमानदार थी, आपने वो वापस क्यों ली? और शीला जी वाली नीति जिसे आप भ्रष्ट बताते थे, वो क्यों दोबारा लागू कर दी? तो बहुत से सवालों के जवाब अब अरविंद केजरीवाल को दिल्ली देश में देने होंगे, क्योंकि इन्होंने देश को ठगा है। ये जो अन्ना आंदोलन रामलीला मैदान में हुआ, मैं विधायक रही आम आदमी पार्टी की 5 साल, इनकी रगों रगों से वाकिफ होकर सत्ता को ठोकर मारकर वापस कांग्रेस के संघर्ष में जनता के साथ खड़े हैं, जनता के साथ खड़े हैं।
All right, thank you very much, ma'am. That was a crackling response from you, but we'll leave it at that and slip into a very short break. I'll meet you on the other side.
It was so strong that both the kids were flung in the air. While the errand driver fled from the scene, the children, both brothers, are suffering serious injuries. Gujarat is reeling under floods and Surat happens to be the worst hit.
Roads turned into rivers, resulting in several vehicles getting submerged. Water even entered people's homes, forcing people to move to higher floors.
हम लोगों को बहुत तकलीफ होता है, पानी इतना आता है ना.
Drone footage shows most of Surat inundated. There is water for as long as the eye can see. Most people remained confined to their homes, but this pregnant woman had to be evacuated from her flooded home. A boat was brought in to take her to a safer location.
Nearly 5 lakh people have been affected by devastating floods in Odisha. People were stuck in neck-deep water waiting to be evacuated. Relief and rescue teams have reached maroon villages on boats and they moved people to safety. Incessant rains have triggered floods across the state. Maharashtra is also reeling under heavy floods after rains pounded the coastal districts.
Several rivers in Maharashtra are in spate after incessant rains for the last 24 hours. Despite dangerous conditions, this group of people decided to cross a river in Nashik. But the water was flowing so fast that they lost their balance. They held each other's hands and managed to cross the river to safety. Similar pictures surfaced from Vidarbha in Maharashtra. Rainwater left roads flooded and entered several homes. Several people were seen wading through knee-deep water. Teams from the National Disaster Response Force were roped in to evacuate people from flooded areas.
A day after he was heckled in Kodagu for questioning the installation of Savarkar posters, Siddaramaiah faced protest in Chikmagaluru as well. Right-wing groups carrying pictures of Savarkar tried to gherav Siddaramaiah's motorcade. The Congress called it a state-sponsored protest. 2 months after Rahul Gandhi's Wayanad office was vandalized after a protest by members of the Students' Federation of India, 4 people, including Rahul Gandhi's staff there, have been arrested. They've been accused of damaging a picture of Mahatma Gandhi in the office. Remember, the Congress had accused the SFI of vandalism. The Sports Ministry has reached out to both FIFA and the Asian Football Confederation to allow Indian club sides to compete in tournaments as scheduled. Before FIFA suspended the All India Football Federation, Sri Gokulam Kerala FC had already reached Uzbekistan for a tournament beginning on the 23rd of August. ATK Mohun Bagan is also slated to play in September. Amid tensions with China, Taiwan's president thanked the Navy for their efforts.
Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen visited tailors of the island's Navy to thank them for their efforts. She called the pressure they are faced with as indescribable. During the visit, Taiwanese sailors wearing anti-flash gear warned Chinese warships by radio to change direction, saying they had seriously damaged security in the Taiwan Strait. Although the scale of China's drills has reduced, Taiwan continues to report Chinese fighters and warships operating around the island. The island nation has been holding its own military drills in the last couple of days, conducting anti-air drills with missiles and cannons. China claims the democratically governed Taiwan as its own territory and has been holding war drills to show its anger against US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to the island nation.
Russia has deployed 3 new fighters armed with nuclear-capable missiles to its European enclave. Jets are specially modified. These are MiG-31K variants. They can carry the Kinzhal or the Dagger hypersonic missile. These missiles can be armed with nuclear warheads as well that are capable of flying at 12 times the speed of sound. These jets have landed in Kaliningrad, very next to the NATO member Poland. At least 1 person was killed in Russian shelling on the Ukrainian city of Kharkiv. 5 missiles hit different parts of the city early this morning, in which several buildings were reduced to rubble. Ukraine's second largest city has been the target of regular Russian shelling since the invasion began. But Russia says it's targeting a concentration of Ukrainian soldiers in the area. Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro has come face to face with a heckler and tried to snatch his
कि दिल्ली में शराब की बिक्री तो बढ़ गई, लेकिन दिल्ली सरकार का राजस्व कम हो गया। अरविंद केजरीवाल ने तो ये कहा था कि इस नई शराब नीति से दिल्ली सरकार को हर वर्ष 10,000 करोड़ रुपए का राजस्व प्राप्त होगा। तो वे बताएं कि राजस्व 10,000 करोड़ रुपए क्यों नहीं आया। ये पैसा किसकी जेब में गया। और अंत में मैं उनसे पूछना चाहता हूं कि ये पहले इस नई शराब नीति की बहुत प्रशंसा करते थे, जब ये इतनी अच्छी शराब नीति थी तो उसको अब वापस क्यों लिया गया है। मैं अरविंद केजरीवाल से मीडिया के माध्यम से कहना चाहता हूं कि वो तुरंत मानसून सत्र बुलाएं और इस नई एक्साइज पॉलिसी पर भी चर्चा कराएं। और जो दिल्ली में उनकी सरकार ने अनेक घोटाले किए हैं, चाहे वो पीडब्ल्यूडी का घोटाला है, चाहे वो डीटीसी का घोटाला है, चाहे वो हॉस्पिटल्स का घोटाला है, चाहे वो जल बोर्ड का घोटाला है, चाहे वो राशन का घोटाला है, ये जो अनेक घोटाले दिल्ली की सरकार ने पिछले 6-7 सालों में की हैं, इन पर भी चर्चा हो। वो तुरंत दिल्ली विधानसभा का सत्र बुलाएं, यह मैं अरविंद केजरीवाल से मांग करता हूं। और सदन में चर्चा कराएं, उसको डायरेक्ट लाइव कराएं, जिससे कि दिल्ली और देश के लोग देख सकें आखिर सच्चाई क्या है, दूध का दूध पानी का पानी हो सके। यही बात मैं कहना चाहता था। आप सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
रामवीर जी, अभी मनीष सिसोदिया ने प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस की और पहली बार लीगल पॉलिसी पे बोले। कहते हैं उन्होंने ये कहा कि जो बीजेपी अरेस्ट करी 8,000 करोड़ का घोटाला वो सब हुआ नहीं, और अगर सही तरह से ये पॉलिसी इंप्लीमेंट अगर बीजेपी होने देती तो कम से कम 10,000 करोड़ का जो है प्रसाद दिल्ली को फायदा होता। और उन्होंने ये भी पिच कर दिया कि बीजेपी इसलिए डर रही है क्योंकि 2024 में केजरीवाल वर्सेस मोदी रहेगा। क्या कहेंगे?
देखिए, मैंने विधानसभा के अंदर दिल्ली के डिप्टी चीफ मिनिस्टर से पूछा था, क्या मास्टर प्लान का वायलेशन करके शराब के ठेके खुल सकते हैं? उन्होंने जवाब नहीं दिया। मैंने उनसे पूछा कि शराब के ठेकेदारों का कमीशन बढ़ा दिया गया है, उन्होंने उसका जवाब नहीं दिया। और मैंने उस समय हाउस में कहा था, ये रिकॉर्ड पर है, कि तू इधर उधर की ना बात कर, ये बता कि काफिला क्यों लुटा। मैं बताऊं कि काफिला क्यों लुटा। तेरा था रहजनों से वास्ता, मुझे रहजनों से गिला नहीं। सिसोदिया, तेरी रहबरी पर सवाल है। ये बात मैंने हाउस के अंदर कही थी, और वो मेरे और दिल्ली प्रदेश भाजपा के किसी भी विधायक के जो सवाल थे, जवाब हाउस के अंदर नहीं दे पाए थे। 1 मार्च 2022 को क्या उस समय सिसोदिया ने कहा कि बीजेपी की ओर से कोई अड़चन उत्पन्न की जा रही है? उस समय तो सिसोदिया ने कहा कि हमें नई शराब नीति से 10,000 करोड़ रुपए की आय होने वाली है। तो 1 मार्च 2022 को क्यों नहीं हाउस के अंदर, यदि उनके सामने हमारे द्वारा कोई अड़चन उत्पन्न की जा रही थी, तो उन्होंने क्यों नहीं हाउस में इस बात की चर्चा की? मैं पूछना चाहता हूं, और मैं फिर रिपीट कर रहा हूं कि अरविंद केजरीवाल के मंत्रिमंडल ने जो बैठक उनकी अध्यक्षता में हुई, जो उन्होंने नॉन कन्फर्मिंग एरिया में शराब के ठेके खोलने की अनुमति दी, पूरी तरह से कानून कायदे का उल्लंघन हुआ है। सीबीआई को अरविंद केजरीवाल और उनके मंत्रिमंडल के सभी मंत्रियों के खिलाफ मुकदमा दर्ज करना चाहिए। उनके पास ये अधिकार नहीं था, और ये पॉलिसी बनाकर ही उन्होंने दिल्ली के शराब के ठेकेदारों को कहा कि अब आप जहां चाहोगे वहां शराब के ठेके खोल सकोगे। यदि आप खेत में चाहोगे, खेतीबाड़ी की जमीन में भी आप शोरूम बनाकर शराब का ठेका खोल सकोगे। तो शराब के ठेकेदारों को लगा कि ये तो बहुत बढ़िया पॉलिसी अरविंद केजरीवाल ने बना दी है, और फिर ये सब कुछ जो रियायतें दी गई, तो ठेकेदारों के साथ, शराब ठेकेदारों के साथ मोटा लेन देन हुआ।
And covers her mouth so that she doesn't scream. A neighbor comes out to see the commotion and later call the cops. He then drags his wife away, all the while pulling her by her hair. Based on the neighbor's complaint, the police reached the spot and arrested the husband.
A speeding car rammed into 2 children who were on their bicycles in Rajasthan's Hanumangarh. The impact was so strong that both the kids were flung in the air. While the errant driver fled from the scene, the children, both brothers, are suffering serious injuries. Gujarat is reeling under floods and Surat happens to be the worst hit.
Roads turned into rivers, resulting in several vehicles getting submerged. Water even entered people's homes, forcing people to move to higher floors.
हम लोगों को बहुत तकलीफ होता है पानी इतना आता है ना
Drone footage shows most of Surat inundated. There is water for as long as the eye can see. Most people remained confined to their homes, but this pregnant woman had to be evacuated from her flooded home. A boat was brought in to take her to a safer location.
Nearly 5 lakh people have been affected by devastating floods in Odisha. People were stuck in neck-deep water waiting to be evacuated. Relief and rescue teams have reached maroon villages on boats and they moved people to safety. Incessant rains have triggered floods across the state. Maharashtra is also reeling under heavy floods after rains pounded the coastal districts.
Several rivers in Maharashtra are in spate after incessant rains for the last 24 hours. Despite dangerous conditions, this group of people decided to cross a river in Nashik. But the water was flowing so fast that they lost their balance. They held each other's hands and managed to cross the river to safety. Similar pictures surfaced from Vidarbha in Maharashtra. Rainwater left roads flooded and entered several homes. Several people were seen wading through knee-deep water. Teams from the National Disaster Response Force were roped in to evacuate people from flooded areas.
A day after he was heckled in Kodagu for questioning the installation of Savarkar posters, Siddaramaiah faced protest in Chikmagaluru as well. Right-wing groups carrying pictures of Savarkar tried to gerouse Siddaramaiah's motorcade. The Congress called it a state-sponsored protest. 2 months after Rahul Gandhi's Wayanad office was vandalized after a protest by members of the Students' Federation of India, 4 people, including Rahul Gandhi's staff there, have been arrested. They've been accused of damaging a picture of Mahatma Gandhi in the office. Remember, the Congress had accused the SFI of vandalism. The Sports Ministry has reached out to both FIFA and the Asian Football Confederation to allow Indian club sides to compete in tournaments as scheduled. Before FIFA suspended the All India Football Federation, Sri Gokulam Kerala FC had already reached Uzbekistan for a tournament beginning on the 23rd of August. ATK Mohun Bagan is also slated to play in September. Amid tensions with China, Taiwan's president thanked the Navy for their efforts.
Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen visited tailors of the island's navy to thank them for their efforts. She called the pressure they are faced with as indescribable. During the visit, Taiwanese sailors wearing anti-flash gear warned Chinese warships by radio to change direction, saying they had seriously damaged security in the Taiwan Strait. Although the scale of China's drills has reduced, Taiwan continues to report Chinese fighters and warships operating around the island. The island nation has been holding its own military drills in the last couple of days, conducting anti-air drills with missiles and cannons. China claims the democratically governed Taiwan as its own territory and has been holding war drills to show its anger against US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's.
BJP's jibe at Kejriwal. Amit Malviya has tweeted, Manish Sisodia has been abandoned by Arvind Kejriwal. Yesterday, Kejriwal didn't say a word in defense of the new liquor excise policy, which caused a huge loss to the Delhi government. Today, Sisodia had to come out to defend Sisodia. But AAP is unable to explain why the policy was reversed. We know this is the big question from Congress and the BJP, the fact that they went back to a 15-year-old policy set in place by Sheila Dikshit. And Sisodia today came out and now we're joined by Amit Malviya himself to talk about that. Very good afternoon to you, sir. So we saw that yesterday, Atishi had addressed this. She had said that they were unable to implement their new policy in full because in just 48 hours, it had been limited by Anil Baijal, which is why they had to, eventually go back to the old policy when that FIR was filed. I give you that they didn't give you a straight answer. But how satisfied are you with that response?
Well, that response is not satisfactory at all. And what needs to be noted is that Arvind Kejriwal came out yesterday in the press and did not say a word in defense of the new excise policy that was touted as this big reform that would bring in a lot of money to the Delhi government. They had promised 10,000 crores worth of revenue, and eventually what they reported was about 2,000 crores. So where have those 8,000 crore rupees that were supposed to come in gone? The other important point is that Sisodia today is a lonely man in the Aam Aadmi Party. Even Arvind Kejriwal has abandoned him. He had to come out today to defend himself against these raids. So the question is it an admission of the fact that there was massive corruption, and Arvind Kejriwal now wants to completely disassociate himself from Manish Sisodia? Because remember, none of the decisions that Manish Sisodia took had the approval of the Delhi cabinet, and in that sense, it is very easy to make Arvind Kejriwal leave Sisodia all alone. It could be said that he acted on his own, which is the case. He did not have the powers to give instructions that he gave. He operated through several excise officers. Many of them have been arrested and suspended and are being questioned by the agencies. So clearly, the Aam Aadmi Party and Arvind Kejriwal in particular have realized that the CBI and other agencies will get to the bottom of this. There is huge money that has exchanged hands. The money was possibly used to fund Punjab elections for the Aam Aadmi Party. There are several licensees who were not entitled to get these bar or liquor licenses and were given the licenses. There was money that they were supposed to put as deposits, which were waived off by the Delhi government illegally for financial gratification. All these details are going to emerge out. The CBI charge sheet names several people, and most of them associated with liquor barons and people who have been in this business. So clearly it's a very, very murky deal. The details are going to be very ugly. Manish Sisodia will go to the jail like Satyendra Jain is. All that Arvind Kejriwal can do at this point in time is to sort of pull himself out of this situation so that he survives this onslaught.
So Manish Sisodia is confident that there is no money trail, but how confident are you, considering you're alleging that there was a huge scam here to the tune of thousands of crores? How confident are you about the unearthing of this money trail?
Well, it is not for me to be confident because the agencies are the ones that are looking at the money trail. The ED has now moved in from what we have learned from media. It's for them to explore the money trail, but the number of people who've been named in the FIR, including few from the media fraternity, even management and liquor industry, clearly it's a deadly nexus which was at work. People were making money left, right, center, and a lot of money was being plowed back to the Aam Aadmi Party so that they could fight the Punjab elections. And from the looks of it, it seems that there is huge evidence that the agencies have, and the money trail will be unearthed. That is for the ED to step in and locate. It's not for representatives of political parties to comment on. But one thing is quite clear, that the loss to the exchequer is real. There is money that has exchanged hands. The Delhi government has lost money. There are people who've got illegal licenses, and they have got so because they paid the Aam Aadmi Party a lot of money through various conduits of Manish Sisodia. There are pictures of Manish Sisodia with these liquor barons, which are now doing the rounds in social media, and people are asking questions about his association with people who are involved with this kind of murky business. So in all, it's not as clear as Sisodia would like all of us to believe. If you looked at his face, it had dropped. He seemed, discolored this morning. Clearly, the CBI had asked him tough questions, it seems. We'll have to wait for the investigation to unfold. But Sisodia is not going out. That is very clear. He will go to jail like Satyendra Jain is in.
All right, sir, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon and giving us your valuable time. Now, let's also listen in to what Manish Sisodia had to say.
शराब या एक्साइज की चोरी इनकी परेशानी है ही नहीं, इनकी परेशानी है अरविंद केजरीवाल। सरकारें गिराने का 24 घंटे सपना देखते हैं, उसके अलावा मोदी जी को कोई सपना ही नहीं आता आजकल। मैं आज आपके सामने कहना चाहता हूं कि 2024 का चुनाव आम आदमी पार्टी वर्सेस भारतीय जनता पार्टी होने जा रहा है। आज से 3-4 दिन के अंदर, हो सकता है आज, कल, परसों में, कभी भी कि सीबीआई ईडी भेज के मुझे भी गिरफ्तार कर लेंगे, कई सारे और आप नेताओं को भी गिरफ्तार कर लेंगे। हम अपने आप को भगत सिंह की संतान मानते हैं, हम डरने वाले नहीं हैं तुम्हारी सीबीआई से, तुम्हारी ईडी से, तुम्हारे पैसे के आगे बिकने वाले नहीं है। हमको नहीं तोड़ पाओगे तुम।
मनीष सिसोदिया ने भी प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस की, लेकिन जब मीडिया के बंधुओं ने उनसे पूछा कि दिनेश अरोड़ा को आप जानते हो, तो मनीष सिसोदिया प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस छोड़कर भाग गए। सबको ब्लैकमेलिंग करना, उनसे पैसे ऐंठना, लूटने का काम मनीष सिसोदिया करें। और आज पीसी में आके बजाय एक्साइज पॉलिसी में 12% जो कमीशन उन्होंने तय की थी, वो क्यों तय की थी और 6% कमीशन किसको जारी थी, इसका जवाब मनीष सिसोदिया ने नहीं दिया। ये कहा एजुकेशन हेल्थ पे हमें रोका जा रहा है। आपको कोई नहीं रोक रहा, आपको केवल और केवल करप्शन करने से मोदी जी रोक रहे हैं।
Now let me go across to my colleague Rupashri Nanda. Rupashri, you heard Amit Malviya asking this question, Gaurav Bhatia asking, and the Congress asking it repeatedly, and AAP hasn't provided a pointed answer. And maybe they could have put out a statement considering this is a top question. Why did they go back to the old liquor policy? What is what is the crux of the answer that the party has?
Well, you yourself mentioned about Atish's reply that it never actually took off on the ground. Now, there were very practical problems as to why the Aam Aadmi Party had to revert to the old liquor policy. The number one question was that the existing liquor policy's tenure was about to end, and suddenly the government decided that we are not going to go ahead with this anymore, and it said that we are going to revert to the old one. But in the old one, actually, government also was a part of that liquor business, and it would have taken time also for these shops to open again, for all those personnel to be back again, and therefore the existing liquor policy was given an extension for 1 month. They have the cabinet note itself prepared by the Delhi government actually details how and why the policy did not work, and the possible loss to the exchequer also. But I have some very big breaking news with me. Now remember, even Amit Malviya, when he spoke just now, he mentioned about a media person who is also one of the accused. Now that accused media person is somebody called Vijay Nair, and he's accused number 5, if I'm right, in the FIR that has been filed by the CBI. And there have been allegations for quite some time now that Vijay Nair has fled the country and that he is not available because he is afraid of arrest. And there were growing questions as to where is Vijay Nair. What we are breaking for our viewers right now is the statement of Vijay Nair. So Vijay Nair has actually said, and I'm reading it out, I'm surprised to see in the news saying that I have run away abroad. I am abroad for the last few weeks for some personal work. I have not done anything wrong. So there is no question of my running away. Yesterday, my house in Mumbai was raided. I spoke to CBI officer present at my residence on phone. I asked her whether I needed to come. She told me that some CBI officer named Mr. Alok will get in touch with me and inform me when and where to report. I have neither received any notice nor any call from Mr. Alok. It is wrong to say that I am absconding. I will fully cooperate as soon as I hear from the CBI. And this is dated 20th of August, which is today. So that is the big breaking news that we are getting from our viewers. The first important point over here is that, the news point over here is that Vijay Nair's home in Mumbai was also raided yesterday. And he got in touch with a CBI officer who told him that somebody called Mr. Alok would get in touch with him. But he has not received any call from Mr. Alok. And he is also reiterating what many Aam Aadmi Party leaders have been reiterating, that he will fully cooperate as soon as he hears from the CBI. And he's also saying that there is no question of him running away. And he's also saying what Manish Sisodia said a few minutes back, that I have not done anything wrong. So that is the big breaking news that we are getting from you. The statement of Vijay Nair, the accused number 5 in the CBI FIR, that actually came to surface yesterday. So Vijay Nair's residence was also raided, and he has said that he is going to cooperate with the CBI and that he is not absconding.
All right, thank you very much, Rupashri. That's Rupashri there highlighting the response of Vijay Nair. He says he has not fled the country and is available for questioning by the CBI. Now, let's also take a look at the interview my colleague Nikhil Lakhwani has done with Rambir Singh Biduri of the BJP.
कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए।
रेडी? Delhi BJP leader and LOP Rambir Singh Bidhudi is now joining us on CNN News 18. सर, आज सिसोदिया जी ने पीसी की, उन्होंने कहा कि करप्शन की तो बात ही नहीं, अगर करप्शन की बात होती तो गुजरात में जो चीज़ चल रहा है 10,000 करोड़ का जो घोटाला एक्साइज पॉलिसी पे होता तो CBI वहां जाती। इस पे आप क्या कहें?
देखिए, करप्शन की बात कैसे नहीं है। मैं सिसोदिया से पूछना चाहता हूं कि 5 नवंबर को दिल्ली के मुख्यमंत्री अरविंद केजरीवाल की अध्यक्षता में बैठक हुई काउंसिल ऑफ मिनिस्टर्स की, और उसमें यह फैसला लिया गया कि नॉन कन्फर्मिंग एरिया में भी शराब के ठेकेदारों को शराब के ठेके खोलने की अनुमति दी जा रही है, जबकि यह अधिकार दिल्ली के सरकार के पास है ही नहीं। तो कानून कायदे का उल्लंघन करके जो उन्होंने इतना बड़ा फैसला लिया है, तो बताएं सिसोदिया की लेन देन कितने पैसे का हुआ है। दूसरा सवाल है मेरा, पहले दिल्ली में जो शराब के प्राइवेट ठेकेदार थे उनको 2% कमीशन दिया जाता था, और दिल्ली में 20,000 करोड़ रुपए की शराब हर साल बेची जाती है। वह कमीशन बढ़ाकर 12% कर दिया। तो शराब के ठेकेदारों को आप कैलकुलेट कर लीजिए, हजारों करोड़ रुपए का फायदा हुआ है। तीसरी बात, दिल्ली में 21 ड्राई डेज होते थे, उनकी संख्या घटाकर 3 कर दी गई। तो किसको फायदा हुआ? शराब के ठेकेदारों को फायदा हुआ। शराब सर्व करने का टाइम रात 11 बजे तक था। उस समय को दिल्ली पुलिस से एनओसी लिए बगैर आपने प्रातः 3 बजे तक कर दिया। किसको फायदा हुआ? शराब के ठेकेदारों को। शराब की क्वालिटी यदि अच्छी नहीं है तो उसकी जांच दिल्ली सरकार की लैब में नहीं होगी। जो शराब के ठेकेदार हैं, जो उन्होंने लैब बनाई है, उस लैब में शराब की क्वालिटी की टेस्टिंग होगी। तो फायदा किसको हुआ? शराब के ठेकेदारों को। सिसोदिया ने कहा कि इस नई शराब नीति से दिल्ली सरकार को 10,000 करोड़ रुपए का राजस्व आएगा। पहले 6,000 करोड़ का आता था। तो अब वो बताएं कि ये 10,000 करोड़ रुपया कहां चला गया। बिक्री ज्यादा हुई है और दिल्ली सरकार का राजस्व घट गया है, तो सिसोदिया बताएं कि ये पैसा कहां गया, किसकी जेब में गया।
इस पे लेकिन सर उनकी तरफ से ये निकल के आता ना कि 849 खोलने का प्लान था, आप लोगों ने परमिशन नहीं दी, केवल 424 ही खुले। डर का माहौल था, ना ऑफिसर्स ने उनका साथ दिया, ना दूसरी तरफ से सपोर्ट मिला, इसलिए राजस्व जो टारगेट कर रहे थे वो अचीव नहीं हो पाया।
अरे भाई, आप कोई कानून कायदा तोड़कर कोई अनुमति दे देगा उनको क्या? अगर मास्टर प्लान नॉन कन्फर्मिंग एरिया में शराब के ठेके खोलने की यदि अनुमति नहीं देता है, तो कोई भी, चाहे वो दिल्ली की सरकार हो, चाहे वो केंद्र की सरकार हो, किसी के पास यह अधिकार नहीं है कि इनको नॉन कन्फर्मिंग एरिया में शराब के ठेके खोलने की अनुमति दे देंगे। लेकिन इनके मंत्रिमंडल ने यह अनुमति शराब के ठेकेदारों को दी है, जो पूरी तरह से गैर कानूनी है, नियमों का उल्लंघन किया है। यदि अरविंद केजरीवाल के मंत्रिमंडल के पास यह अधिकार है कि नॉन कन्फर्मिंग एरिया में उनका मंत्रिमंडल शराब के ठेके खोलने की अनुमति दे सकता है, जो उन्होंने दी है, तो मैं लीडर ऑफ ऑपोजिशन के पद से इस्तीफा दे दूंगा। नहीं तो सीबीआई को अरविंद केजरीवाल और इनके मिनिस्टर्स के खिलाफ जो मंत्रिमंडल की बैठक में सम्मिलित थे, एफआईआर दर्ज करनी चाहिए।
सर, केजरीवाल सहित जितने भी आम आदमी पार्टी के लीडर हैं महीनों से कह रहे थे कि अगला नंबर जो है मनीष सिसोदिया का है। उसी डायरेक्शन में अब हम मूव करते हुए दिखाई पड़ रहे हैं। आज सिसोदिया साहब भी सामने आए, कहते हैं कि भाई अरविंद केजरीवाल वर्सेस मोदी हो रहा है, इसके लिए पूरा सीबीआई का जाल बुना जा रहा है।
देखिए, मैं ये कहता हूं, आप इश्यू पे बात करो ना। जो सवाल मैंने उठाया उसका जवाब दे दो कि भाई बिक्री ज्यादा हुई, आय कम हुई है। 2% से कमीशन 12% कर दिया गया। नॉन कन्फर्मिंग एरिया में जहां शराब के ठेके हमारा कानून खोलने की अनुमति नहीं देता, आपने शराब के ठेकेदारों से पैसे लेकर क्यों खुलवा दिए? हमने कहा था क्या उनको? हमने उनको अनुमति दी थी क्या? या हमने अनुमति दी होती और फिर हम उनको रोकते? जहां वो शराब के ठेके नहीं खोल सकते हैं, तो उन्होंने शराब के ठेकेदारों को भी अंधेरे में रखा कि हमारे पास ये अधिकार है, जहां चाहें हम शराब के ठेके खुलवा सकते हैं।
आखिरी सवाल, जांच की दिशा आप किस तरफ जाते हुए देख रहे हैं? आपको लगता है कि और भी बड़ा एंगल कुछ निकल के आ सकता है, बड़े लीडर्स और भी बड़ा नाम निकल के?
देखिए, बात यह है, मैंने कहा ना, मैंने हाउस के अंदर भी कहा था, हाउस के बाहर भी कहा था,
और जो मास्टर प्लान का वॉयलेशन करके शराब के ठेके खोले गए थे, तो दिल्ली प्रदेश भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने उसके विरोध में एक बड़ी मुहिम शुरू की थी और मैं तो उस कमेटी का चेयरमैन था। मैं शुरू दिन से
Okay, so I want to expand on one point that was brought up by the opposition about setting up vents in non-conforming areas, and I'm going across to my colleague Rupashri Nanda to give us more clarity on that. Rupashri, you've heard the Congress and the BJP talk about the non-conforming areas and why were vents and tenders given in these particular areas. What does AAP have to say to counter that?
Well, I'll have to go back to what Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia, the man under the scanner, had to say on this. His defense of this was that liquor vents have always been allowed in unconforming or unauthorized areas for the past few decades. So the government of Delhi was not trying to do anything new over there. And the proposal to do that also was sent to the Lieutenant Governor not once but twice. And some suggestions that were given by the then Lieutenant Governor, Mr. Anil Bajal, were also incorporated. After the entire process was over and liquor vents were just about to open, after the licenses had also been given out, just 48 hours before all this, it would have actually taken off on the ground. Anil Bajal, according to Manish Sisodia, changed his mind and said that it cannot be opened in unauthorized areas. And that is attack that has been coming from the BJP. You heard the BJP leader speak just now that it is against the Delhi Excise Act itself, against Delhi's master plan itself, to allow liquor vents to open in unauthorized areas. But Aam Aadmi Party's government in its defense has said that this has always been happening. Now, why did the liquor policy fail? As it has been pointed out over and over again, even conceded by Aam Aadmi Party's own leaders, spokespersons and ministers, it is because it was a post-COVID. They had to write off. The write off a certain amount. It has been alleged 144 crores. To help this business take off again, because remember during COVID times all the liquor shops were completely closed, and when they actually opened there were long queues in front of those shops, and actually they were chaos because of the demand for liquor at that particular point in time. And the other point that I would like to mention, as it has been also pointed out, is that 849 shops were to open, but less than 450 actually got to open their shops. On paper itself, if you look at it, it was extremely uneven. The distribution of liquor vents were completely uneven. Some areas were serviced while other areas were not serviced, and because of this imbalance on the ground, it led to a possible cartelization amongst some liquor vents and some private people who operate liquor shops. So that is where actually the liquor policy failed to take off on the ground. Sisodia has also alleged, and this is on record, that many liquor people who want to open liquor shops, who want to get into the business, were also repeatedly being threatened by various agencies not to get into this business. They were getting notices from various agencies, and as business person, nobody wants to antagonize a particular agency, because then it becomes difficult to survive. So yes, it was a liquor policy that perhaps looked good on paper, in the sense of the government getting out of liquor business completely and equitable distribution of liquor shops across the capital. But on the execution front, actually, it actually did not take off. And number two, it was also not given the time that it required in order to say plug the loopholes and then take it forward, because it was for a certain period of time, and then it was given one extension, a second extension, and finally a third extension also.
Thank you for explaining it so clearly, Rupashri. Stay with us. Let's also listen in to the rebuttal that came in from Manish Sisodia.
शराब या एक्साइज की चोरी इनकी परेशानी है ही नहीं, इनकी परेशानी है अरविंद केजरीवाल। सरकारें गिराने का 24 घंटे सपना देखते हैं, उसके अलावा मोदी जी को कोई सपना ही नहीं आता आजकल। मैं आज आपके सामने कहना चाहता हूं कि 2024 का चुनाव आम आदमी पार्टी वर्सेस भारतीय जनता पार्टी होने जा रहा है। आज से 3-4 दिन के अंदर, हो सकता है आज कल परसों में, कभी भी ये CBI ED भेज के मुझे भी गिरफ्तार कर लेंगे, कई सारे और आप नेताओं को भी गिरफ्तार कर लेंगे। हम अपने आप को भगत सिंह की संतान मानते हैं। हम डरने वाले नहीं हैं तुम्हारी CBI से, तुम्हारी ED से, तुम्हारे पैसे के आगे बिकने वाले नहीं है। हमको नहीं तोड़ पाओगे तुम।
मनीष सिसोदिया ने भी प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस की, लेकिन जब मीडिया के बंधुओं ने उनसे पूछा कि दिनेश अरोड़ा को आप जानते हो, तो मनीष सिसोदिया प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस छोड़कर भाग गए। सबको ब्लैकमेलिंग करना, उनसे पैसे ऐंठना, लूटने का काम मनीष सिसोदिया करें। और आज PC में आके बजाय एक्साइज पॉलिसी में 12% जो कमीशन उन्होंने तय की थी, वो क्यों तय की थी और 6% कमीशन किसको जारी थी, इसका जवाब मनीष सिसोदिया ने नहीं दिया। ये कहा एजुकेशन, हेल्थ पे हमें रोका जा रहा है। आपको कोई नहीं रोक रहा, आपको केवल और केवल करप्शन करने से मोदी जी रोक रहे हैं।
All right, let's also take in a perspective from Rupashri on that particular question. Rupashri, when he was asked about Dinesh Arora, why did Manish Sisodia not answer the question allegedly?
In that press conference, Manish Sisodia stuck to the broad outline against, of BJP versus Aam Aadmi Party and Modi versus Kejriwal, and of him being innocent just because he is a minister in the Arvind Kejriwal government, and just like Satyendra Jain has been arrested before, he too is going to be arrested. Now, one of the reasons why Manish Sisodia is not getting into the nitty-gritties of the Delhi excise liquor policy, remember, it is because an FIR has already been filed. Very likely, as Sisodia himself has said, in another 2-3 days, he also could be arrested. This battle is going to be fought in the court. So, Aam Aadmi Party leaders, including Sisodia himself, are very careful of uttering anything or discussing this in detail in public, because it may be played out in a way in the court that they may not have anticipated before. And the other point is that there are many people who have been named in the FIR, not just one. But there are, if you look at the allegation of favoritism, if you look at the allegation of receiving money on behalf of one person, allegedly to favor another person, there are many names over there. So once the Aam Aadmi Party or Manish Sisodia starts saying or speaking about it, then there would be no end to it. And that is probably one of the reasons why the Aam Aadmi Party essentially is saying that this is completely political vendetta. It has nothing to do with corruption. Had the Modi government anything to do with corruption, it would have acted against various other cases. Of the instances that he gave was the collapse of the Bundelkhand Expressway and also the huge tragedy in Gujarat. And he was trying to make the argument, and he was trying to bolster his own argument by saying that when there has been very little action or no action on these counts, and then how does this only become a case of corruption, and therefore it is not a case of corruption. But regardless of anything that the Aam Aadmi Party says, or anything that the BJP accuses the Aam Aadmi Party of, or anything that Sisodia is charged with, the point that I keep making is, ultimately when it goes to the court, it will be up to the defense and the prosecution. How solid is the defense of Manish Sisodia? What are going to be the arguments and answers in the court of law? And what will the prosecution say? How is it going to prove that there is a quid pro quo? How is it going to prove that there is criminal intent behind these the new excise policy? And these are not easy tasks to prove in a court of law. And therefore, finally, it will be up to the courts to decide. Now, as you heard Sisodia himself, he said it actually today, and we have been reporting about it since yesterday, that there is a sense of Sisodia being arrested, and that is a sort of an imminent threat that Aam Aadmi Party leaders perceive, and they have been bracing themselves up against that. And the second point that the Aam Aadmi Party leaders are closely looking at, or the legal team is closely looking at, is under what provision is Sisodia going to be arrested? Is it CBI which is going to do it, or is he going to be arrested under much more stricter provisions under the Enforcement Directorate? If it happens under the Enforcement Directorate, then of course getting a bail also will become a huge challenge, like it has become with the other minister Satyendra Jain. So not a very comfortable situation for the party at all, and the party is essentially fighting with its back to the wall, is trying to push back against the narrative that has been set. And another point that I would like to make is that all these amounts of money that is being mentioned, 8,000 crores, 10,000 crores, and when BJP leaders actually say it over and over and over again, so that also has the potential to dent the image of not just Manish Sisodia but of the Aam Aadmi Party also on its anti-corruption plank. But the Aam Aadmi Party also knows, the CBI also knows that in order to defend the arrest of Manish Sisodia in a court of law, they will have to have very strong evidence, and that is perhaps what the CBI is now busy with.
Well, Rupashri, the fact that Arvind Kejriwal didn't perhaps outright come and defend the new excise policy is something that is being used by the BJP against the Aam Aadmi Party. They're saying that Sisodia is left to defend himself and that Kejriwal has deserted him and his excise policy. Can you tell us the last time Kejriwal addressed the policy, and was there a reason why he didn't highlight the merits of the policy again today when he spoke to the press, or rather to the camera?
Well, yesterday when he spoke, actually he did defend Manish Sisodia. So it is not as if he has abandoned Manish Sisodia as has been alleged by Mr. Amit Malviya. He did say that, and initially also when the first time that they gave the go ahead for the CBI probe, Kejriwal said that Manish Sisodia is Kattar Imandar. I have known him for so many years. And he also said that, even yesterday he said that, I have been arrested before. There are cases against me. There are cases against so many other people. So arrests or this sort of an action by various agencies, the Aam Aadmi Party chief sees it is inevitable in the process, in the political process and growth of a particular party, and they should not be seen as obstacles. Now, when it comes precisely about the Delhi's liquor policy, now on that, over all the press conferences that we have heard, none of the Aam Aadmi Party leaders have actually gone into the nitty-gritties of it or specificities of it, except for Manish Sisodia once, and that was probably about 2 weeks back, when and after the go-ahead for CBI probe had already been given, and in that press conference, I'm sorry, in that press conference actually, he detailed the entire chronology, the idea behind the excise policy, the thought behind it, and how and why it failed. And he had also called for a CBI investigation against the then Lieutenant Governor Anil Baijal. Now, Anil Baijal also in his defense had responded and said that he acted as per constitutional norms, and that he is completely, his conduct has been completely impeccable. So this has been going on and on for some time, which is why I say that finally it will be up to the courts to decide whether Sisodia is guilty or not. But if you look at what is happening, with the Aam Aadmi Party's government also, definitely it is not an easy situation to be in. Even as we speak, Arvind Kejriwal is.
Rupashri, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we also have some breaking news coming in from Bengal. I have to go across to that. The CBI submits in court that Anupratap Mondal has not cooperated with the agency during his custody tenure. Remember, this is in connection to the cattle smuggling scam. Going across to my colleague Shogato for more details on this. Shogato, so the CBI submission is that Anubrato has not cooperated with them in custody.
That's right, and that's the ground for the CBI seeking a further tenure of 4 days, because that's the maximum that the CBI can get in this particular case. We do know that Anubrata Mondal was remanded in CBI custody for 10 days, and the CBI has not only questioned him in custody, but also carried out simultaneous raids at many of his other properties, including some of the rice mills that are allegedly owned by Anubrata Mondal and his relatives. And all those details are being submitted before the court today. But the agency has submitted that Mondal has so far been extremely non-cooperative in his attitude towards joining the investigation and helping the agency to figure out the depth of the corruption as it has been alleged. Whereas on the other hand, Anubrata Mondal's counsel have opposed that submission, saying that the reason why Anubrata Mondal did not respond to the back-to-back summonses of the CBI was because of his ill health, and he was not given sufficient time to recover from his health condition, as a result of which he could not join the investigation at the early stage.
However, when the CBI came to his house and picked him up, he obviously had no option, but to go with them because he was put under arrest. The fact that he had no intention to abscond from his place has also been put forward before the court by Anubrata Mondal's counsel. The hearing is currently going on at a special CBI court in Asansol, West Bengal.
Well, Shagatu, for our viewers, could you also recap the charges against Anubrata Mondal?
Well, you see, Anubrata Mondal was, arrested by the CBI on grounds of indulging in corruption activities in the cattle smuggling case that has been lodged with the CBI, and which the agency has been probing for the past couple of years now. Anubrata Mondal's, close associate, his own bodyguard, Saigal Hussain, was already, arrested by the agency a couple of months back. And the agency claims that based on his, statement before the CBI, incriminating evidences have been recovered by the agency. There are other people who are involved. One such figure is Inamul Haq, a local leader in that area who was actively involved in the cattle smuggling trade. And the proceeds of the smuggling was received by Anubrata Mondal, who then converted it into various wealth assets, including fixed deposit assets in various banks. And the CBI claims that it has already raided various bank accounts of Anubrata Mondal and has recovered some 17 crore rupees from the fixed deposit accounts of Anubrata Mondal and his daughter Sukanya. And as a result, the CBI claims that these are proceeds from these illegal trade that Anubrata Mondal had been indulged in, have been involved in for the last several years now. And of course, not just the cash, there are several properties, multiple properties, land plots, fixed deposits, real estate assets, rice mills, dumpers, so on and so forth, have also been, found and linked to the accused in this particular case, Anubrata Mondal, the district president of Birbhum of the Trinamool Congress, as alleged by the CBI. So obviously, it remains to be seen whether the court is convinced with all these arguments that have been put forward by the agency and gives the agency a further custody of maximum 4 days.
I have to request you. I'm sorry, I have to interrupt because we are getting some big news. BJP protests against Rajasthan government are currently underway. So this is the protest against Ashok Gehlot. These protests are taking place in Jaipur. And Rajasthan is said to be ranking second in corruption, unfortunately, in the country. And as early as in July, 267 corruption cases were lodged against government officials. And that is a protest currently underway, taken by the BJP workers. These protests are taking place in Jaipur. And this specific protest is against the growing corruption they allege is happening in Rajasthan. Let's take a look at the reactions coming in.
जनता के लिए खड़े होने की बात आती है तो निश्चित रूप से हमारे ये दायित्व है कि जनता के सुख दुख में जनता के न्याय के लिए हमको जिस कीमत पे भी लड़ना पड़े लड़ेंगे।
जा रहा है, बच्चों को मारा जा रहा है और यहाँ की सरकार कहती है ये तो साधारण सी छोटी सी घटना है और बड़ी घटना दिल्ली में हो रही है इनके लिए। कभी राजस्थान की जनता को छोड़कर दिल्ली चले जाते हैं, कभी गुजरात चले जाते हैं और इनके खुद के विधायक कहते हैं कि खनन माफिया का सरगना खनन मंत्री खुद है। इनके खुद के विधायक त्याग पत्र दे रहे हैं दलित अत्याचार पे, इनके पार्षद त्याग पत्र दे रहे हैं, इनके खुद के मंत्री बोलते हैं बलात्कार में नंबर 1 है, लेकिन मर्दों का देश है, मर्दों का प्रदेश है। इतनी घिनौनी हरकतें कर रही है, इतनी घटिया सरकार है, इसलिए यह जन आक्रोश है और हम सरकार को जगा के रहेंगे।
घेरेंगे विधानसभा
को घेरेंगे और राजस्थान के हित के लिए किसान कर्जा माफी, बेरोजगारी, कानून व्यवस्था, भ्रष्टाचार, इन सब मुद्दों पर हमारा संघर्ष अनवरत रहेगा।
किसान कर्ज माफी और बेरोजगारी से बड़ा मुद्दा हो गया है लॉ एंड ऑर्डर, आपने कहा।
देखिए, ये तो सारे मुद्दे हैं ही, लेकिन आज हमारा फोकस कानून व्यवस्था पर था। उन मुद्दों के लिए जवाब मांगा है। जो 7,94,000 मुकदमे दर्ज हुए, उस पर गहलोत सरकार जवाब दे। जो रोज 18 बलात्कार होते हैं उस पर जवाब दे। जो 7 हत्याएं होती हैं उस पर जवाब दे। हमने इन मुद्दों के लिए सरकार से मांग रखी है, लेकिन जिस तरीके से सरकार, अशोक गहलोत हमसे डरता है, इसलिए पुलिस को आगे करता है, तो पुलिस के बल पर दमन करने की कोशिश की है, लेकिन हम लोकहित के लिए रुकेंगे नहीं।
सतीश पूनिया जिंदाबाद, सतीश पूनिया जिंदाबाद।
So those are the protests currently going on. The BJP workers are alleging and protesting against the high rate of corruption in the state that they say, and also the kind of alarming growing numbers of rape incidents in the state, and of course those latest unfortunate killings that we witnessed, and especially the death of this particular 9-year-old
काम करने का घटनाएं हो रही हैं हर रोज राजस्थान के अंदर। तुष्टीकरण की घटनाएं हो रही हैं, साधु संतों को, पुजारियों को मारा जा रहा है, जलाया जा रहा है, महिलाओं के साथ बलात्कार हो रहे हैं। ये हर रोज की घटना है और उसके बावजूद भी अपराधी पकड़ में नहीं आते। और मुख्यमंत्री कहते हैं तो छोटी सी घटना है, तो इन घटनाओं को छोटा बताना, तुष्टीकरण की राजनीति करना, ये राजस्थान में हो रहा है। ये जो गुस्सा है, ये पूरे राजस्थान का गुस्सा है, ये पूरे देश का गुस्सा है जो यहाँ पर दिखाई दे रहा है।
पुराना गांव की जो घटना थी, उसके संबंध में दिग्विजय सिंह जी का बयान था कि ये जो स्कूल है जहां घटना हुई वो आरएसएस से कहीं ना कहीं उसका कनेक्शन बताया था। इसको लेकर जालौर में उनके खिलाफ मामला था।
देखिए, आरएसएस का जो असर है वो तो पूरे देश में है, हर घर में है, लेकिन ये स्कूल आरएसएस का नहीं है। और ये जो आरोप लगाना, इनका एक ही काम रह गया है। हम तो कहते हैं कि कानूनी कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए, लेकिन जो अपराधी हैं वो अपराधियों को इतना हौसला कहां से आ गया? क्योंकि पुलिस सिर्फ कानून को फॉलो करने वाले के ऊपर कानून थोपती है। ये सरकार पुलिस का गलत इस्तेमाल कर रही है, तुष्टीकरण की राजनीति हो रही है यहाँ पर, इसलिए खुली छूट मिली हुई है। चाहे पीएफआई हो या जो भी जो आतंकी जो यहाँ पे लोग हैं, उनका अड्डा बन गया राजस्थान।
आपको आगे बढ़ने से रोका जा रहा है, आप सड़क पर धरना लगा रहे हैं, आगे क्या करेंगे, क्या करेंगे?
देखिए, हम कानून व्यवस्था को बिगाड़ना नहीं चाहते, हम अपना आक्रोश दिखाना चाहते हैं। ये पुलिस वाले अपना काम कर रहे हैं, नौकरी कर रहे हैं, पीछे इनके जो सरकार है जो पुलिस का गलत इस्तेमाल करती है, दोषी वो है। और इसलिए हम कानून को मानते हुए यहाँ पे रुके हैं। अभी हमारा आप सब देश तक, पूरे राजस्थान तक हमारी बात पहुँचा रहे हैं, ये जरूरी है। आपको भी धन्यवाद।
That was Rajyavardhan Singh Rathod. They're talking about the kind of unfortunate incidents and rise in rapes that were taking place in the state, and also highlighting that terrible incident against that Dalit boy who was beaten to death. Going across to my colleague Anshul, who has more details on this. Anshul, do we have any response from the government about these protests that are currently going on?
Not as of now, Shilpa, but yes, these protests are not something that has happened spontaneous, but yes, these protests were planned by the BJP because over the last few months, in fact, we have seen the kind of law and order situation that has continuously deteriorated in the state of Rajasthan, starting from the killing of Kanhaiya Lal to the brutal murder of that 9-year-old kid who went ahead to drink water from a well. And most such cases, even just a few days ago in Jaipur, a teacher was burnt alive, whereas people were making videos of it. So yes, the situation in Rajasthan is definitely something, especially the law and order situation in Rajasthan is definitely something that has put the Rajasthan government on the back foot. So yes, today the senior leaders of the Rajasthan state BJP unit has now decided to come out and carry out this protest march in Jaipur. This protest is being led by Rajasthan MPs from Rajasthan, Rajyavardhan Singh Rathod, and State BJP President Satish Punia, who have all reached there just to make sure that the continuous pressure that they are building on the Rajasthan government, on the law and order situation, that pressure does not die down, because remember, in the next 5 to 6 months, in the next 1 year, we are going to see elections also happening in the state of Rajasthan as well. So yes, the state BJP is getting really very active and making sure that they make the right kind of noises when it comes to putting pressure on the Rajasthan government and tell the people of Rajasthan that this government is not able to handle the law and order situation in the state. We have seen many incidents happening even before Kanhaiya. We saw the kind of incidents that happened in Alwar also, where there was a situation of a riot that almost broke out. But yes, the situation has remained tense since then in Rajasthan. There has been day in and day out, we have been hearing such stories where such brutal murders or targeted killings have been happening. So yes, the leaders of Rajasthan, especially the BJP leaders of Rajasthan, are making sure that they leave no stone unturned in propagating the message that this government has absolutely failed in maintaining law and order situation in the state of Rajasthan. And now it remains to be seen how does the BJP now take this forward, because what we have been told from sources within the BJP, especially in Rajasthan, is that they are going to be relentless in their attacks on the Rajasthan government, and we are going to see more such protests being carried out across the state of Rajasthan. Today it is happening in Jaipur. In the next few days, we might see such protests happening in other cities like Udaipur, Ajmer, and Jodhpur as well. So yes, the BJP is making sure that they make the right kind of sounds and propagate the message that the government has absolutely failed, and hence it should not stay in power, because in the next 1 year, as Rajasthan goes to polls, BJP wants to be on a strong footing at that point in time. And currently, it seems like they are getting successful, and the Rajasthan government definitely seems to be on the back foot right now with the kind of situation.
Anshul, I request you to stay with us while we are joined by Archana Sharma from the Congress. Very good afternoon to you, ma'am. Thank you for joining us. The BJP, they're protesting against what they perceive is an increase in the number of crimes in Rajasthan, and also against that unfortunate incident involving that unfortunate death of that Dalit boy. How is the Rajasthan government tackling the law and order situation in the state?
The death was unfortunate, no doubt, but it's not a thing that crime is increasing in Rajasthan. It's just they are creating an issue out of non-issues, and it's because they are in opposition. They have been silent for last 3.5 years, and since they are impending elections in Gujarat and other states, so they are creating issues out of that.
Ma'am, how strong do you believe is the grip of your party on the state of Rajasthan?
We have the strongest grip on law and order in the state of Rajasthan, and we know that heinous crimes took place in the state of Uttar Pradesh, have been taking place in all the states ruled by Bharatiya Janata Party. So since they know that Rajasthan Congress is very strong, therefore they are stating all such things.
All right, ma'am. Thank you very much for joining us with your perspective. That was Archana Sharma there saying that the law and order situation in Rajasthan is no worse than the ones in other states. Anshul, you heard what Archana Sharma of the Congress had to say. She said, yes, there are heinous crimes that are committed in the state, but what about those committed all across the country? And she says these are unfortunate incidents and we are working towards avoiding them, but that also the fact remains that they happen across the country.
Definitely, but the question that is being raised on the Rajasthan government is that the manner in which it has been happening day in and day out. We have been hearing stories of atrocities on Dalits. We have been hearing the kind of incident that happened with Kanhaiya, where he was lynched in broad daylight. What action has the police taken, or what steps have the government taken to make sure that such kind of incidents do not happen? What is the improvement in law and security that has happened in Rajasthan? So these are some of the pertinent questions that the BJP is currently asking to the Congress party, and Congress definitely seems to be on the back foot right now, because they are in no manner being able to defend the kind of atrocities. Even you heard Archana Sharma, the kind of answers that she gave was being very defensive. So yes, when a party gets on defensive, it means that they are on the wrong footing as of now. So yes, it remains to be seen if the Congress can actually turn things around in Rajasthan and make sure that the perception that has been built around them being a very weak weak government who is not able to control the law and order situation in that state. Will they be able to turn over this perception in time? That is the biggest challenge that the Rajasthan Congress is facing as of now. So yes, they do not have time in their hand, because in just 1 year of time they will be going to polls. And the current situation in Rajasthan, it seems, I have been on the ground many times. I have been reporting from all places, and the situation on the ground is that there is an anti-incumbency against Ashok Gehlot government. So yes, it remains to be seen how do they change the perception that the BJP has managed to build around that of being a very, very weak government in the next 1 year. So yes, the Rajasthan government definitely seems to be on the back foot. We haven't been hearing the senior ministers of the Rajasthan government coming out addressing the press.
All right, now we're joined, Anshul, request you to stay with us. We're joined by Shehzad Poonawala of the BJP. Very good afternoon to you, sir. The protests are underway in Rajasthan. I just spoke to Archana Sharma from the Congress. She says that while there are heinous crimes that take place in Rajasthan, you know, the fact of the matter is that they take place all across the country. And while they believe that they have a strong grip on law and order, she says, why are the incidents across the country also not highlighted in the same manner and gusto?
That's the most shameless defense that can be put up. It's as if to justify the kind of atrocities that take place on the Dalits.
All right, we seem to have lost him. We'll try to re-establish that connection with Shehzad Poonawala of the BJP, but that was the response coming in from the Congress, saying that it was extremely unfortunate that these incidents have taken place. All right, going back to Anshul for more on this. Anshul, we were talking about the upcoming elections taking place in December, and you've been on ground and you've reported from there. While the Congress, of course, believes that they have a very firm hold on the state, what do you make of it?
So yes, the Congress has been trying to get over that image that has been made against them of being a probably incompetent party when it comes to handling the situation, law and order situation on the ground. And that is the reason why we have seen the Congress not reacting in the strongest of manner, that we have seen Congress responding to allegations made by the opposition party. So yes,
पार्टी के वरिष्ठ नेता, केंद्रीय सूचना प्रसारण, युवा कार्य, खेल संस्कृति मंत्री माननीय अनुराग ठाकुर जी आपको संबोधित करेंगे। बगल में भारतीय जनता पार्टी दिल्ली प्रदेश के माननीय प्रदेश अध्यक्ष श्री आदेश गुप्ता जी हैं और लोकप्रिय सांसद पूर्व प्रदेश अध्यक्ष श्री मनोज तिवारी जी हैं। मेरा विनम्र निवेदन है सर्वप्रथम माननीय अनुराग जी से कि आपको संबोधित करें।
धन्यवाद भाई संजय जी। नमस्कार मित्रों, आम आदमी पार्टी के काम का पैमाना, भ्रष्ट नेता, गली गली महखाना, और ये महखाने के भ्रष्टाचार की बू आज देश और दुनिया तक पहुंची है। शराब के घोटाले की बू देश और दुनिया तक पहुंची है। शराब घोटाले के आरोपी नंबर 1 मनीष सिसोदिया जी, लेकिन किंगपिन है अरविंद केजरीवाल जी। द accused number 1 of the liquor corruption is Mr. Manish Sisodia, but the kingpin of corruption is अरविंद केजरीवाल। और आज की प्रेस वार्ता से साफ पता चलता है कि शराब के घोटाले के बाद चेहरे का रंग, हाव भाव सब मनीष सिसोदिया जी के उड़े हुए थे। शराब के भ्रष्टाचार के कारण वो पत्रकारों के प्रश्न के उत्तर भी नहीं दे पा रहे थे और ये स्वयं उन्होंने माना कि शराब के घोटाले की चिंता ना करें। मनीष सिसोदिया जी ने कहा शराब के घोटाले की चिंता ना करें। ये तो मान लिया शराब का घोटाला हुआ। अब पहली बात ये आती है कि मनीष जी, आखिरकार अगर आपकी शराब नीति ठीक थी तो वापस क्यों ली? क्या ऐसी मजबूरी थी? आपकी हालत तो ऐसी थी कि चोर को दाढ़ी में तिनका दिखा तो उसने बचने के लिए दाढ़ी मुंडवा दी। तो मनीष सिसोदिया और अरविंद केजरीवाल जी ने भी शराब नीति में भ्रष्टाचार दिखा तो नीति वापस ले ली। मेरा सवाल इनसे यह है कि मनीष सिसोदिया जी बताएं कि मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कंपनियों को रिटेल में ठेके की अगर अनुमति नहीं होती थी तो आपने क्यों दी? मनीष सिसोदिया जी से मेरा दूसरा सवाल यह है, और अरविंद केजरीवाल जी से, कि कार्टेल कंपनियों को शराब बेचने की ठेका क्यों दिया? अगर दिया तो क्यों? आप ये भी बताइए कि खाओ गली और इंडो स्पिरिट जैसी ब्लैक लिस्टेड कंपनियों को क्या आपने ठेका दिया या नहीं? एक सवाल मेरा और भी है कि 25 अक्टूबर को जब दिल्ली के ही एक्साइज डिपार्टमेंट ने ब्लैकलिस्टेड कंपनियों को और बाकी कंपनियों को नोटिस दिया था, तो इस पर अरविंद केजरीवाल जी और मनीष सिसोदिया जी ने क्या कार्रवाई की? आम आदमी पार्टी की सरकार ने क्या कार्रवाई की? ये आम आदमी पार्टी की सरकार, ये रेवड़ी की सरकार भी है, बेवड़ी सरकार भी है। क्योंकि जिस तरह से इनके एक वरिष्ठ नेता ने यह कहा कि हमें कोविड से लेना देना नहीं। अरे भाई, कोविड में तो आपने कुछ किया ही नहीं। दिल्ली में, देश में हाहाकार मची दिल्ली के कारण, वो देखने को मिला। इनके नेता ने कहा कोविड से हमें लेना देना नहीं। तो भाई, शराब वालों से क्या लेना देना था आपका, ये तो बता दो। मेरा इनसे एक और सवाल है कि आखिरकार शराब माफिया को बगैर कैबिनेट अप्रूवल के 144 करोड़ रुपया क्यों वापस किया? किसके कहने पर किया? क्या मनीष सिसोदिया ने अकेले किया या अरविंद केजरीवाल जी की सहमति थी? किसके कहने पर देश की जनता का, दिल्ली की जनता का पैसा शराब के व्यापारियों को मिली भगत से वापस किया? इसका जवाब अरविंद केजरीवाल जी को देना ही होगा। वो आज तक सवालों के जवाब से भागते हैं। यह सवाल देश की जनता बार बार पूछती है कि शराब के व्यापारियों के प्रति ये इतने नरम दिल क्यों? किसको कितना मिला, कैसे मिला, इसकी जड़ तक जाना ही होगा। आप अपने शराब के घोटाले को बाकी बातों से ना ढकने का प्रयास करें, क्योंकि आपका असली चेहरा सामने आया है। और यही नहीं, ये लोग सच्चाई से भागते हैं। ये आम आदमी पार्टी के नेता, चाहे अरविंद केजरीवाल जी हो या बाकी हो, ये सच्चाई से भागते हैं, ये जिम्मेदारी से भागते हैं, ये सवालों से भागते हैं। अब ये जनता से भी दूर भागेंगे। और आज जब मीडिया के मित्र सवाल पूछ रहे थे तो मनीष जी उल्टे पांव भाग रहे थे। मीडिया के सवालों से पीठ दिखाकर भाग सकते हो, जनता से भी ऐसे ही मनीष सिसोदिया, अरविंद केजरीवाल को भागना पड़ेगा। और ये जो 30 करोड़ रुपए जो ईएमडी, अर्नेस्ट मनी डिपॉजिट हुआ था, ये क्यों वापस किया? अगर वो अनुमति नहीं ले पाए तो आपने इनके पैसे क्यों वापस किए? ये पैसे वापस किए तो आपकी जेब में कितने आए? इसका जवाब आपको देना होगा। मैं यही नहीं, ये सारे सवालों का जवाब अरविंद केजरीवाल जी को खुली चुनौती देता हूं। अगर दम है तो अरविंद केजरीवाल जी मीडिया के सामने आए, देश के सामने आए, 24 घंटों के अंदर जवाब दें। ना ये सीबीआई के जवाब दे पा रहे हैं, ना ये मीडिया के जवाब दे पा रहे हैं। और इसीलिए मैंने कहा, ये सच्चाई से भागते हैं। जिम्मेदारी से भागते हैं, सवालों से भागते हैं, अब जनता से भागेंगे। आपने ठेकों की, आपकी सरकार ने, केजरीवाल जी और सिसोदिया जी ने जो ठेकों की कमीशन 2% से बढ़ाकर 12% क्यों की? और एक्यूज नंबर 1 मनीष सिसोदिया जी से सीधा सवाल है कि ये जो बिचौलिए जिनको अलग अलग इनमें एक्यूज ठहराया गया, उनसे इनके रिश्ते क्या है? अरविंद केजरीवाल जी और मनीष सिसोदिया जी के रिश्ते क्या हैं इनसे? ये जवाब देना ही पड़ेगा। मित्रों, ये लोग जनता के सामने और जनता की आंखों में धूल झोंकने का प्रयास करते हैं। राजनीति में आने से पहले भ्रष्टाचार के खिलाफ आंदोलन तो करते थे, लेकिन आज तक उस पर किया क्या? इतना ही किया कि आकर भ्रष्टाचार के नए रिकॉर्ड बनाने अरविंद केजरीवाल जी, जो किंग पिन है भ्रष्टाचार के, और एक्यूज नंबर 1 मनीष सिसोदिया जी ने किया। और मनीष सिसोदिया ने अब अपने नाम के स्पेलिंग भी शायद चेंज कर लिए हैं। अब इनका अगला आ गया है MONEY, मनी। कमाई करो और चुप रहो। मनी। ये है, घोटाले करो, उल्टे पांव भागो, जनता को पीठ दिखाओ, मीडिया के सवालों का जवाब न दो, और कोई महिला पत्रकार पूछे तो उसको लताड़ करके धमकी देने का काम करो। इससे निंदनीय बात कुछ नहीं हो सकती। महिला सशक्तिकरण तो दूर, महिलाओं को अपमानित कैसे करते हैं, ये आम आदमी पार्टी के नेताओं ने दिखाया है। मुझे इतनी बात कहनी थी, आप अपनी बात कह सकते हैं।
मेरा विनम्र निवेदन होगा माननीय आदेश गुप्ता जी से, पहले हम तीनों लोगों के वक्तव्य दिलवा देते हैं, पुनः आप अनुराग जी से सीधा सवाल कर सकते हैं। माननीय आदेश गुप्ता जी।
धन्यवाद संजय जी। आज की प्रेस वार्ता में उपस्थित केंद्रीय मंत्री और पार्टी के वरिष्ठ नेता श्रीमान अनुराग ठाकुर जी और पार्टी के सांसद और वरिष्ठ नेता श्री मनोज तिवारी जी, सभी मेरे पत्रकार मित्रों को मेरा नमस्कार। अभी बहुत सारे सवाल अनुराग जी ने मनीष सिसोदिया और अरविंद केजरीवाल से किए। किसी भी सवाल का उनके पास जवाब नहीं है। दिल्ली के अंदर नई शराब पॉलिसी जब इन्होंने बनाई थी तो उसकी गुणगान करते ये लोग थकते नहीं थे। पहली प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस मनीष सिसोदिया जिस समय कर रहे थे, शराब की नई नीति 21 नवंबर को लॉन्च की, तो पत्रकार ने पूछा आप नई शराब नीति क्यों ला रहे हैं? पुरानी शराब नीति में सबसे अच्छा मॉडल है जिसको कई राज्यों ने अपने यहां लागू किया, क्योंकि उसमें बेईमानी की गुंजाइश नहीं है। तो पत्रकारों को जवाब देते हुए मनीष सिसोदिया कहते हैं कि ये शराब नीति दिल्ली में शराब के इक्वल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन के लिए काम करेगी। लोगों को तकलीफ होती है, कुछ महिला और युवा साथी जो गांव में रहते हैं उनको गांव से दूर जाके शराब लेनी पड़ती है, अपनी कॉलोनी से दूर जाके शराब लेनी पड़ती है, क्योंकि मास्टर प्लान इस बात की इजाजत नहीं देता है। दिल्ली के 100 वार्ड ऐसे हैं जहां पर मास्टर प्लान के मुताबिक वहां शराब के ठेके खुल ही नहीं सकते हैं। दिल्ली की आम आदमी पार्टी सरकार नई शराब की नीति इसलिए लाए कि शराब का इक्वल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन कर सके। वो जनता को साफ पानी का इक्वल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की चिंता नहीं थी, उनको सीवरेज सिस्टम की इक्वल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की चिंता नहीं थी, उनको परिवहन व्यवस्था की इक्वल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की चिंता नहीं थी, उनको दिल्ली के लोगों को, युवाओं को शराब के नशे में कैसे झोंका जाए इसकी चिंता थी। और जो सवाल आज अनुराग जी ने उठाए, मैं उसमें से 2-3 सवाल और जोड़ना चाहता हूं। क्या वो इस बात का जवाब देंगे कि आपने शराब माफिया को फायदा पहुंचाने के लिए 21 ड्राई डे होते थे? इतिहास में आजादी के बाद पहली बार किसी सरकार ने किसी राज्य में 21 ड्राई डे की संख्या को घटाकर 3 किया। गुरु गोविंद सिंह जयंती, होली, दीपावली, रामनवमी, मुहर्रम, ऐसे त्योहार जिन पर्वों पर बिल्कुल शराब बंदी थी, उन त्योहारों पर भी शराब पीने का खोलने का काम, ड्राई डे की संख्या घटाने का काम क्यों किया? 20,000 करोड़ की शराब बिकती है। इन 18 दिनों में कितने करोड़ों की शराब बिकेगी और ये सारा फायदा किसको होगा? क्योंकि ये आम आदमी पार्टी, केजरीवाल, सिसोदिया, ये सब शराब माफिया को ज्यादा से ज्यादा फायदा पहुंचे इसके लिए किया है। और ये नई शराब नीति की घोषणा करने के बाद हुआ है। और इसी तरह क्या वो इस बात का जवाब देंगे कि उन्होंने जो बियर की इंपोर्ट ड्यूटी उसको गलत तरीके से, गैर कानूनी तरीके से 50 रुपए पर केस कम कर दिया, जो कि बिल्कुल गैर कानूनी था? जवाब नहीं उनके पास। और उनके पास ये भी जवाब नहीं है कि दिल्ली में आपने अनऑथराइज कॉलोनी हो, रेजिडेंशियल इलाके हो, रिहायशी कॉलोनी हो, नॉन कन्फर्मिंग इलाके हो, गांव हो, जो स्कूल विद्यालय हो, मंदिर के पास, धार्मिक स्थलों के पास आपने शराब ठेके खोलने की अनुमति क्यों दी? इस बात का जवाब नहीं है। क्यों आपने 250 ठेकों से बढ़ाकर 850 ठेके किए? आखिर शराब माफिया को ज्यादा से ज्यादा फायदा पहुंचाने के लिए यह ऐसा काम किया आपने। और यही नहीं, जब शराब की नई दुकानें खुल रही थी रिहायशी इलाकों में, जब नए ठेके खुल रहे थे, उस समय जब महिलाएं, वहां की महिलाएं जब विरोध प्रदर्शन कर रही थी, तो आपके शराब माफियाओं के गुंडों ने बाउंसरों द्वारा महिलाओं को पिटवाया गया। उस पर एक शब्द नहीं निकला। दिल्ली की सरकार, दिल्ली में अरविंद केजरीवाल और मनीष सिसोदिया ने शराब माफिया को मानो पूरा प्रॉफिट देने के लिए पूरी कमर कस ली थी, और पूरा प्रॉफिट देने के लिए कोई भी आगे आया, महिलाएं आई तो उनको पिटवाने का काम किया है। और जब शराब की नई पॉलिसी की सीबीआई जांच हुई तो तुरंत यू टर्न ले लिया। तो आखिर 21 नवंबर से जब शराब पॉलिसी वापस ली तब तक चुप रहे, प्रॉफिट हो रहा है, प्रॉफिट हो रहा है। अचानक से नुकसान होने लगा। दिल्ली के अंदर इस बात का आम आदमी पार्टी सरकार के पास कोई भी जवाब नहीं है कि उन्होंने ऐसा पाप दिल्ली के लोगों के साथ क्यों किया। अब वो बात को घुमाने के लिए दूसरी तरफ बात को, ध्यान को भटकाने के लिए ले जा रहे हैं, लेकिन इस बात का कोई जवाब नहीं है कि हजारों करोड़ रुपए आपने शराब माफिया को चोर दरवाजे से फायदा पहुंचाने के लिए काम किया। दिल्ली की जनता आपसे जवाब जानना चाहती है, भारतीय जनता पार्टी भी आपसे जवाब जानना चाहती है। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
मेरा आग्रह होगा माननीय मनोज तिवारी जी से कि आपको संबोधित करें।
देखिए, भारतीय जनता पार्टी ये जनहित के लिए काम करने वाली पार्टी है। वहीं आम आदमी पार्टी की सरकार शराब हित के लिए काम करने के लिए प्रसिद्ध हो गई है, लिकर माफियाओं के हित के लिए काम करने के लिए प्रसिद्ध हो गई है। प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में मनीष सिसोदिया जी ने मेरा नाम लेकर के कई बातें कही। मैं उसका डिटेल सिर्फ देना चाहता हूं। देखिए, इसमें कोई दो राय नहीं है कि 3 डायलॉग आम आदमी पार्टी के कभी भुलाए नहीं जा सकते। फर्स्ट, जब गलियों में महिलाएं, जैसा अध्यक्ष जी ने कहा, आदरणीय अनुराग जी ने कहा कि जब महिलाएं चित्कार कर रही थीं क्योंकि उनको डर था कि मेरा बच्चा 18 साल से शराब पीने लगेगा, उनका हृदय रो रहा था जब उनको पता चल रहा था कि मेरे बच्चे को 3 बजे रात तक शराब पीने की छूट दी जा रही है दिल्ली में, तो महिलाएं रो रही थीं, हम उनके साथ खड़े थे। जिस स्कूल के सामने शराब की दुकानें खुल रही थी, मंदिर के सामने, गुरुद्वारे के सामने, मस्जिद के सामने, गिरजाघर के सामने, तो वो सभी रो रहे थे। उनकी हाय लगी है आज आम आदमी पार्टी की सरकार को, मनीष सिसोदिया और अरविंद केजरीवाल जी को। लेकिन पहले कहना कि बेस्ट पॉलिसी, जैसे ही जांच शुरू होती है, आबकारी नीति वापस लेके ये कहना एलजी साहब ने ऐसा लाया था, और आज पुनः पीसी में मनीष सिसोदिया के द्वारा कहना कि दिस इज बेस्ट पॉलिसी। इफ दिस इज बेस्ट पॉलिसी मनीष सिसोदिया जी, तो फिर जो आप और आपके सभी विधायक कह रहे थे कि 9,500 करोड़ की इसमें रेवेन्यू का हासिल होना है, वो मात्र 1,400 करोड़ क्यों हुआ? 9,500 करोड़ का इसलिए कि आपको याद रहे कि विस्की और वाइन की बिक्री क्रमशः 60% और 87% बढ़ गई। आप यह भी नहीं कह सकते कि इस कारण से बिक्री घट गई। बिक्री बढ़ गई 87% तक और रेवेन्यू घट गया 80%। हाउ इट इज पॉसिबल? 9,500 करोड़ के रेवेन्यू को दिखाकर मात्र 1,400 करोड़ देना, तो मैंने तो 8,000 करोड़ का ही हिसाब मांगा है, ये तो यहां पे 8,100 करोड़ और बढ़ गया है, 8,100 करोड़ है। और मुझे लगता है कि दुनिया की कोई ताकत ऐसे भ्रष्ट और अपराधी लोगों को, चाहे वो पद में कितने भी बड़े क्यों न हो, कितने भी बातों को, मुद्दों को भटकाने की कोशिश करे, इस देश का कानून ऐसे लोगों को बख्श नहीं सकता है। और मेरा मानना है कि इसका डिटेल्स उनको देना चाहिए। यह मेरा डायलॉग नहीं है। कल भी जब मैं एक जगह बहस कर रहा था, तब भी 9,500 करोड़ का आना था। आज भी मनीष सिसोदिया जी ने कहा दिस इज बेस्ट पॉलिसी, देन रेवेन्यू कहां गया? 8,100 करोड़ के रेवेन्यू को किसको दिया? आपने शराब माफियाओं को बांट करके, इससे कहीं और जाकर के आप कोई और काम किए हैं क्या? ये हमारा सवाल है। और निश्चित रूप से बहुत सारे हमारे बिंदु थे जो अनुराग जी ने, आदेश जी ने कहे हैं, लेकिन हमें बार बार कहूंगा कि दिल्ली के महिलाओं की, दिल्ली के बच्चों की, दिल्ली के मंदिर वाले, मस्जिद वाले, गिरजाघर, गुरुद्वारे वाले, स्कूल वालों की हाय ने आपको ये कर्म किया है। और अभी आपका इससे भी बुरा होना है, क्योंकि अपराध करने वाले देश में कभी बच नहीं सकते। और हमें इस बात की बहुत प्रसन्नता है कि जांच बहुत अच्छे से आगे बढ़ रही है। हम दूध का दूध, पानी का पानी चाहते हैं।
मित्रों, आप एक एक करके माननीय अनुराग जी और दोनों नेताओं से कर सकते हैं। मेरा सर्वप्रथम आग्रह है, अमित, टाइम्स नाउ नव भारत।
इन लोगों ने बहुत प्रयास पहले भी किए, 2019 में भी किए, उससे पहले भी किए। अलग अलग राज्यों के 4 राज्यों में चुनाव हुए, तब भी बड़ी बड़ी बातें की। ये कहीं पर भी मोदी जी के आगे खड़े नहीं हो पाए, क्योंकि जनता का विश्वास और आशीर्वाद नरेंद्र मोदी जी पर था और भारत को आगे बढ़ाने का काम भी नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने किया है। लेकिन सवाल ये खड़ा होता है कि दिल्ली की शराब नीति शराब के ठेकेदारों ने बनाई कि शराब के ठेकेदारों की हितैषी अरविंद केजरीवाल जी और मनीष सिसोदिया जी ने बनाई। अरविंद केजरीवाल जी का बाइना हाथ, लेफ्ट हैंड, पहले ही जेल में है और दाहिना हाथ यानी कि मनीष सिसोदिया जी गंभीर भ्रष्टाचार के आरोपों में घिरे हैं। ये रेवड़ी और बेवड़ी की बात, आप पंजाब चुनाव से पहले दिल्ली सरकार की ये शराब नीति आना अपने आप में बहुत कुछ कहता है। और पंजाब में सरकार आने के बाद एक के बाद दूसरी विकेट भ्रष्टाचार पर गिरना, दिल्ली से लेकर पंजाब तक आम आदमी पार्टी के भ्रष्टाचार का बोलबाला, ये सामने।
सबसे बड़ी एजेंसी छापा मार रही है, सुबह से शाम तक 14 घंटे मीडिया के अंदर चल रहा है। एजेंसी ने यह भी नहीं बताया इन छापों के बाद मिला क्या, क्या बरामदगी हुई, कितने करोड़ रुपए मिले मनीष सिसोदिया के घर पे, कितने किलो सोना मिला। कुछ तो मिला होगा। कहीं 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 कहां छापा मारा, कुछ नहीं मिला। ये तो सामने आ गया सबके, इसमें तो कोई छुपाने वाली बात नहीं है। कुछ भी नहीं मिला इन्हें कि ये बरामदगी हुई, ये बरामदगी हुई। इस तरह से कहा जा सकता है कि सीबीआई की ये जो 31 जगहों पे 20-20, 30-30 आदमी इन्होंने भेजे, 900 लोग लगाए इन्होंने। सोचिए, एक जगह 30 के हिसाब से, 31 के हिसाब से 900 लोग इन्होंने सीबीआई के अफसर लगाए, रिजल्ट 0 आया। और सीबीआई की ये जो केंद्र सरकार की रेड थी, इसको कोई भी न्यूट्रल आदमी कहेगा ये रेड पूरी तरीके से फेलियर थी, 100 में से 0 नंबर। मगर इसमें दोष सीबीआई के अफसरों का नहीं है, वो बेचारे अपनी ड्यूटी कर रहे हैं, उनकी तो नौकरी है, जो केंद्र सरकार कहेगी वो करेंगे। पहले यूपीए जो कहती थी वो करते थे, मोदी जी पानी पी पी के सीबीआई को गाली देते थे। मैं वीडियो दिखा सकता हूं आपको, जिसके अंदर वो सीबीआई को दिन रात गालियां देते थे। और अगर आपको सुनाऊंगा तो आपको लगेगा अरे इसी वक्त की बात कर रहे हैं क्या वो। ऐसी वीडियो है मोदी जी की, खुद की, स्वयं की। तो सीबीआई वालों का कोई दोष नहीं है। अब केंद्र सरकार उन बेचारों के ऊपर दबाव बना रही है, उनको अच्छे से झाड़ पड़ रही है, और उनको बोला गया कि अगर कुछ नहीं मिला तो अब अफसरों को सस्पेंड किया जाएगा। और उनको कहा गया है पाताल में खोजो, कहीं भी करो, कुछ ना कुछ ढूंढो, कुछ ना कुछ लाओ। ये हालत है आज केंद्र सरकार की। और पूरा देश, प्रधानमंत्री जी इस देश में क्या करा रहे हैं, मंत्रियों के घर किस तरह से दिन रात छापे पड़ा रहे हैं, किस तरीके से एक सरकार को परेशान किया जा रहा है, ये पूरा देश देख रहा है। मुझे बड़ी उम्मीद थी प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस से कि इतनी बड़ी प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस बीजेपी तो बताएगी। आप सब तो पत्रकार हैं, वही बासी 2 महीने पुरानी कहानी जो इनका हर प्रवक्ता रट कर टीवी पे आ जाता है, वही कहानी, वही 45 करोड़, वही 30 लाख, 30 करोड़, वही गोलमोल गोल 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 गोल। कोई नई चीज इनके पास अब तक। ये कहानी तो वो कहानी थी जो 2 महीने पहले इन्होंने सुनानी शुरू की थी। उसके बाद सीबीआई की इंक्वायरी हो गई, सीबीआई ने एफआईआर दर्ज कर ली, आपने 31 जगह छापे मार दिए, आपने दुनिया भर के अंदर लोगों को बुला बुला के डरा लिया, धमका लिया। निकला क्या? स्टोरी तो आगे बढ़ी नहीं आपकी। आपकी स्टोरी तो वहीं की वहीं खड़ी है जहां 2 महीने पहले थी। इससे एक बात साफ हो गई, प्रधानमंत्री जी के यहां इस बात को कहा जा रहा है कि अब अगर निपटना है तो अरविंद केजरीवाल से निपटो। अब टारगेट नंबर 1 प्रधानमंत्री जी के लिए अरविंद केजरीवाल है। और ये बात आप कहो या ना कहो, भारतीय जनता पार्टी कहे या ना कहे, लोगों के अंदर जा रही है कि नरेंद्र मोदी जी के दुश्मन नंबर 1, नरेंद्र मोदी जी के टारगेट नंबर 1 अरविंद केजरीवाल है। और मुझे लगता है आने वाले समय में पूरे देश में जो लड़ाई है, ये नरेंद्र मोदी बनाम अरविंद केजरीवाल होगी, आम आदमी पार्टी बनाम भारतीय जनता पार्टी होगी। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
अनुराग ठाकुर ने कई हमले किए, जवानी हमले, खासकर उन्होंने एक लाइन बोली कि ये रेवड़ी सरकार है और बेवड़ी सरकार है।
देखिए, मैंने एक नियम बनाया है, आप सबको बता देता हूं। जो बदतमीजी से सवाल करेगा उसके सवाल का जवाब नहीं देना, वरना क्या है कि मैं उनकी बदतमीजी को एक्नॉलेज कर रहा हूं और उनको कह रहा हूं कि आप बदतमीजी करिए और हम आपका जवाब देंगे। तो ये जो बदतमीजी भरा सवाल है अनुराग ठाकुर को, मैं इसको इस लायक नहीं समझता कि इसका जवाब दूं।
लेकिन उन्होंने 24 घंटे का चैलेंज भी दिया है और ये कहा है कि आपकी बेस्ट पॉलिसी को आप लोगों ने क्यों हटा दिया और क्यों दूसरी पुरानी पॉलिसी आपको लानी पड़ी। क्या ये सीबीआई का डर था?
इस पॉलिसी को क्यों हटाया गया, क्यों लाया गया? मनीष सिसोदिया जो एक्साइज मिनिस्टर भी हैं, जब इस पॉलिसी को रोल बैक किया गया उन्होंने प्रेस वार्ता करके किया। कोई ऐसा नहीं कि चोरी छुपे इस पॉलिसी को वापस कर दिया। अनुराग ठाकुर जी को मैं कहना चाहता हूं, 24 घंटे देश के बर्बाद मत कीजिए। उस प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस को दोबारा देख लीजिए, 15 मिनट की प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस है, आपको भी जानकारी हो जाएगी। सब चैनल के ऊपर वो लाइव आई थी, अभी YouTube के अंदर पड़ी है, अनुराग जी देख लें उसको। और कोई सवाल?
ये फिर से आज उन लोगों ने पिच किया है, आंकड़ों को बोला है कि इतने पैसों का लेन देन,
वही पुराने आंकड़े, कोई भी नई चीज नहीं। वो जो 145 करोड़ की कहानी है, जो 20 करोड़ की कहानी, 30 करोड़ की कहानी है, उस सब के जवाब हम कई बहसों में इनके लोगों को दे चुके हैं, इनके प्रवक्ताओं को बोल चुके हैं। समस्या ये है कि अब इन्होंने ये सोच लिया कि एक झूठ को हम 1000 बार बोलेंगे तो जनता सच मान लेगी। तो अब उस पैटर्न पे चल रहे हैं कि एक ही झूठ ले लो, उसको बोलते जाओ बोलते जाओ बोलते जाओ बोलते जाओ। तो हम अब इनका जवाब कितनी बार देंगे? हमने इनकी सब बातों का जवाब विवरण सहित दिया है। कल मैंने कई वीडियोस के अंदर उसका जवाब दिया है, आप देख सकते हैं। सभी चैनल्स को मैंने पूरा विवरण उसका दिया है, वो बाइट्स मौजूद हैं, अनुराग ठाकुर भी देख सकते हैं उनको।
अटैक किया गया है मनीष सिसोदिया पे, जो डिप्टी चीफ मिनिस्टर हैं। अनुराग ठाकुर कह रहे हैं कि नया नाम दे रहे हैं उनको, मनी ऐसा करके।
देखिए, मैं नरेंद्र मोदी जी की एक बात से सहमत हूं कि जो परिवारवाद की देन है इस भारतवर्ष को, ये बिना कुछ किए, बिना किसी मेहनत के।
आपको पता है उन्होंने दिया मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कंपनी को, कार्टेल कंपनियों को, ब्लैकलिस्ट कंपनियों को 25 अक्टूबर को। क्या कार्रवाई की उसके बाद? कोई नहीं। 144 करोड़ रुपया आपने किसके कहने पे वापस किया? 30 करोड़ रुपया किसके कहने पे वापस किया? अगर ये शराब कंपनियों के ठेकेदारों के खाते में गया, उनको वापस किया, तो आपको कितना मिला जरा बताएं। एक सवाल का जवाब आज नहीं दे पाए। उल्टे पांव मनीष सिसोदिया भागते नजर आए। किस बात का डर है? क्यों जवाब नहीं दे पा रहे? इनका जवाब हम लेकर रहेंगे। जनता भी मांगेगी, मीडिया भी मांगेगा, सीबीआई भी मांगेगा। जवाब देना होगा अरविंद केजरीवाल को। मुंह छिपाकर आप कहीं नहीं भाग सकते, जवाब देना ही होगा। धन्यवाद।
नीरज पांडे, एबीपी नीरज पांडे।
मेरे भाई नीरज जी, उत्तर प्रदेश में सीना ठोक ठोक के अरविंद केजरीवाल जी कहते थे कि वो पूर्ण बहुमत की सरकार बनाएंगे। खाता नहीं खुल पाया आम आदमी पार्टी का उत्तर प्रदेश में। उत्तराखंड में वो कहते थे हम पूर्ण बहुमत की सरकार बनाएंगे, खाता नहीं खुल पाया। जमानतें जब्त होती चली गई आम आदमी पार्टी की। वो गुजरात हो, हिमाचल हो, वहां भी खाता नहीं खोल पाएंगे। और मैं कहता हूं शराब नीति में हिट विकेट हो गए हैं तो अरविंद केजरीवाल, मनीष सिसोदिया हो गए हैं।
अरे रुक जाइए, आनंद पांडे।
सर तीनों से एक छोटा सवाल है। एक तो मनीष सिसोदिया ने आशंका जताई है कि 2-4 दिन में मुझे गिरफ्तार कर लिया जाएगा। इसका क्या मतलब है? दूसरा, मनोज जी आप लोग आरोप लगा रहे थे कि 100 करोड़ का 144 करोड़ घोटाला, उनका 8,000 करोड़ घोटाला। उनका कहना है कि जो सीबीआई की एफआईआर जो सीबीआई लेके आए थे, उसमें सिर्फ 1 करोड़ घोटाले की बात कही गई, वो भी सोर्सेज खबर हुई। और तीसरा, अजय जी आप लोग कह रहे हैं कि कई आरोपी भाग गए हैं, तो जो विजय नायक है क्या छापे पड़े?
वो असली मास्टरमाइंड, किंगपिन।
अब वो भारतीय जनता पार्टी देखिए खुद ही पोजीशन कर रहे हैं अरविंद केजरीवाल को मोदी जी के अगेंस्ट। हम नहीं कर रहे हैं, वो खुद मदद कर रहे हैं। और ये क्या भगवान कराता है। भगवान प्रकृति इस तरीके के सारे तरफ सर्कमस्टांसेस क्रिएट करता है कि जिस ऑप्शन की तलाश बार बार की जा रही थी कि कौन है वो ये खुद ही चिन्हित कर रहे हैं, ये हैं हमारे। और बताइए कोई?
विपक्षी एकता का जिक्र होता है जब भी इस तरह की जांच एजेंसी की कार्रवाई चाहे कांग्रेस के खिलाफ हो, चाहे टीएमसी, चाहे आम आदमी पार्टी के खिलाफ, वो खंडित हो जाती है। मनोज झा ने बयान दिया कि आम आदमी पार्टी चुप रहती है जब किसी और विपक्षी पार्टी के नेता के ऊपर कार्रवाई की जाती है। आपको लगता है कि स्ट्रेटेजिकली एक सभी विपक्ष को साथ आना चाहिए ताकि दबाव बन सके?
देखिए, मनोज झा जी एक बहुत समझदार, काबिल और सुलझे हुए राजनेता हैं। मैंने उनका बयान सुना। इन प्रिंसिपल मैं उनकी बात से कई हद तक सहमत हूं। मगर समस्या ये आ जाती है कि विपक्षी एकता के नाम पे हम हर एक भ्रष्टाचार को जो है वो नजरअंदाज नहीं कर सकते। कई जगह ऐसा भी होता है कि थोड़ा भ्रष्टाचार जो है वो दिखता है प्राइमा फेशिया, तो उसके अंदर अंतर करने की जरूरत है। मगर मोटे तौर पे जहां पे राजनीतिक दलों को प्रताड़ित किया जा रहा है, उसके लिए हम लोग हमेशा आवाज उठाते हैं और हम लोग तो बहुत दिनों से इस बात को कह रहे हैं कि सीबीआई, ईडी, इनकम टैक्स जैसी एजेंसीज का दुरुपयोग किया जा रहा है। मैं आपको एक और बात बताता हूँ, 2015 में हम आए, हम तो नए थे राजनीति के अंदर। हमारे ऊपर सबसे पहले जो कहते हैं ना प्रयोग, वो सबसे पहले अरविंद केजरीवाल के ऊपर ही किए गए सारे, चाहे वो सीबीआई का प्रयोग हो, चाहे वो शुंगलू कमेटी बनाकर हमारी 400 फाइलों की जांच कराने का प्रयोग हो, चाहे एलजी के द्वारा केंद्र सरकार के हस्तक्षेप का प्रयोग हो। और उस वक्त जो सबसे बड़ी अपोजिशन पार्टी थी, जो लीडर थी पार्टी कांग्रेस, वो उस समय भारतीय जनता पार्टी की चीयर लीडर बन गई थी। भारतीय जनता पार्टी द्वारा लगाए हुए एलजी, नजीब जंग जो भी गलत काम करते थे, सबसे पहले अजय माकन कूद कूद के तालियां बजाते थे। और मुझे लगता है कि कांग्रेस की वो बहुत बड़ी गलती थी कि जो प्रयोग भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने हमारे खिलाफ किए, उस वक्त कांग्रेस ने उसके लिए तालियां बजाई। और आज वो प्रयोग, हम तब भी कहते थे, वो प्रयोग अब पूरे देश के अंदर होंगे और आज जो है उसका खामियाजा सबको भुगतना पड़ रहा है। और कोई सवाल है तो बताइए।
सौरभ जी, एफआईआर के अंदर 1 करोड़ की ट्रांजैक्शन का जिक्र बार-बार किया जा रहा है और इसके अंदर कहा जा रहा है
जवाब चाहिए आरोपी नंबर 1 शराब घोटाले का मनीष सिसोदिया जी और किंग पिन अरविंद केजरीवाल जी को जवाब देना ही होगा। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। ये भाई साहब एक फोटो मैं देख ले ये भी कर दे, नोटिस भी दे दे।
Thank you so much for being with us here on CNN News 18. I'm Griha Atul and I'd be taking this entire story forward from here on. Remember, the CBI has come knocking on the doors of Manish Sisodia. There is a war of press conferences that is happening between the BJP and the Aam Aadmi Party. The BJP press conference that was presided over by Anurag Thakur along with Adesh Gupta and Manoj Tiwari has just gotten over. Of course, serious charges that they are levelling against Manish Sisodia and also Arvind Kejriwal, calling him the kingpin in this entire liquor gate saga is what the BJP's argument is. Aam Aadmi Party, on the other hand, seems to be in a mode of bravado, in a zen mode, so to speak. That is what has come across from the Saurav Bhardwaj press conference that is currently going on. He seems to be pushing aside all of the allegations one by one. However, the answers that are being required, that is being asked of the BJP, hasn't yet been given. That is the argument that the BJP is really going ahead and standing with. We'll continue to track all the developments when it comes to this big story that we're tracking right here on CNN News 18. Meanwhile, slipping into a very short break and coming right back.
The building itself was declared dilapidated by the BMC and had been vacated earlier.
An Indian Air Force contingent has reached Australia to take part in Exercise Pitch Black. The biennial multinational exercise hosted by the Royal Australian Air Force will see the participation of over 100 aircraft and 2,500 military personnel from various air forces across the world. Meanwhile, en route to Australia, the French Air Force refueled a Sukhoi 30 MKI fighter. These were jets of the Indian Air Force. It was mid-air and it's the first time that France has refueled an Indian jet mid-flight during their projection. The IAF thanked France for the mid-air refuel support. 2 Ethiopian Airlines pilots fell asleep while flying from Sudan's Khartoum to the Ethiopian capital Addis Ababa, and they missed their landing. The autopilot system kept the plane cruising at 37,000 feet. The ATC then raised an alert when the flight did not start its descent at the set time. The ATC then tried to contact the pilots, but they couldn't succeed because obviously the pilots were asleep. When the plane overflew the runway, the autopilot disconnected and that triggered an alarm which then woke up the pilots. A drunk man brutally thrashed his wife in the middle of a road in Ghaziabad.
The woman can be seen running out on the road while her husband chases her. He drags her by her hair, pushes her on the road and thrashes her. He repeatedly slaps her even as she holds up her arms and begs him to stop. He then pulls her by her hair and covers her mouth so that she doesn't scream. A neighbor comes out to see the commotion and later call the cops. He then drags his wife away, all the while pulling her by her hair. Based on the neighbor's complaint, the police reached the spot and arrested the husband.
A speeding car rammed into two children who were on their bicycles in Rajasthan's Hanumangarh. The impact was so strong that both the kids were flung in the air. While the errant driver fled from the scene, the children, both brothers, are suffering serious injuries. Gujarat is reeling under floods and Surat happens to be the worst hit.
Hello and welcome to yet another edition of Bits to Billions, the unicorn story. We're in the offices of Grow, a startup founded 6 years ago to make investing easy. We have Lalit and Harsh. Do your parents use Grow?
Oh yeah, I do.
They do?
No, my parents don't do. No, my parents are very my dad is a farmer. So my parents are from a very small village in Madhya Pradesh.
How do they react कि Lalit ने unicorn बनाया?
They are stoic. They are stoic. For them, what matters is you create some positive impact in the world.
So how did you end up from there to IIT Bombay?
So I lived with my grandparents. They were in Khargone, as a district. So I studied with them.
That's an amazing journey, Lalit.
A lot of luck.
Welcome back and thank you so much for being with us on CNN News 18. We are again beginning this broadcast with some breaking news that's coming in, and we're continuing with our coverage on the story of the CBI raids on Manish Sisodia, I beg your pardon. Now we are getting to know that as the Congress party is holding protests against the Aam Aadmi Party over these CBI raids on Sisodia, Mehbooba Mufti has tweeted and she said, "It's sad that Congress is unable to rise above party interests because Aam Aadmi Party is a formidable opponent, having been a victim themselves of ED onslaught, yet they are joining BJP's propaganda at a time when agencies are being weaponized. The opposition should have rallied together." This is what has come out of Mehbooba Mufti. She has said that by way of a tweet. Remember, the Congress party is not siding with the Aam Aadmi Party when it comes to the CBI raids on Manish Sisodia. They, in fact, are targeting the Aam Aadmi Party, asking for answers. And Mehbooba Mufti is questioning just that. My colleague Tejinder joins me on the broadcast. Tejinder, Mehbooba Mufti very, very scathing in her attack at the Congress party.
Yes, indeed. Mehbooba Mufti has attacked the Congress party, saying that at a time, Mehbooba Mufti has accused rather BJP. They are saying that Congress is playing in the hands of BJP. BJP's what Mehbooba Mufti calls BJP's propaganda. They say that today when the Congress party, they held a protest outside the residence of the Deputy Chief Minister and Aam Aadmi Party leader Manish Sisodia after the CBI carried raids at Manish Sisodia's residence and other offices in connection with the excise policy. The Congress party, they held a protest demanding his resignation, and today Mehbooba Mufti said that the Congress party should rise above party interest because Aam Aadmi Party has become a formidable opponent, and BJP is indulging in this propaganda to bring the Aam Aadmi Party down and to bring a bad name for the Aam Aadmi Party. So the Mehbooba Mufti goes on to say that Aam Aadmi Party and Congress, they should rather, instead of protesting and instead of opposing each other, they should join hands to take on the BJP's so-called propaganda as per Mehbooba Mufti. Yes, sir.
All right, Tejinder, thank you so much for bringing us up to speed with all that has come out
through that tweet by Mehbooba Mufti. And of course, many would say that she does have a point, because if at all we need to see a formidable opposition against the BJP, the government at the centre, the Congress should have went ahead and sided with the Aam Aadmi Party when it comes to, once again, the central agencies being misused, because that is the argument that has once again been come to light when it comes to the CBI raids on Sisodia. And this is something which was a similar sentiment when ED really came after the Gandhis. We leave it at that, slipping into a very, very short break here on CNN News 18. News continues.
Regular Russian shelling since the invasion began, but Russia says it's targeting a concentration of Ukrainian soldiers in the area. Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro has come face to face with a heckler and tried to snatch his phone. As Bolsonaro spoke to supporters outside his home, one person used his phone to film himself repeatedly shouting at the president. Bolsonaro grabbed the man's shirt while reaching for his phone. Security guards pulled the man away. Amid the recent uptick in COVID-19 cases in China's Xiamen, aggressive testing has been going on, and no one can escape it, not even fish. This viral video shows how authorities clad in PPE kits were inserting cotton buds inside the mouths of fish and swabbing the shells of crabs. While many have ridiculed this move, some are supporting it, saying that it's for everyone's well-being. A BJP worker in Agra was caught on camera abusing police officers.
This video, which was shot by a cop, shows the BJP worker throwing a fit. He not only abuses the policemen but also threatens them. Seeing the video being shot, some supporters of the BJP worker even tried to snatch the cop's phone. After the video went viral, a case has been registered against 15 people, including the BJP worker.
On the occasion of Janmashtami, Dahi Handi festivities returned to Maharashtra after 2 years of the pandemic.
From a 9-tier human pyramid to an all-girls Dahi Handi, to even a Dahi Handi commemorating Chhatrapati Shivaji's legendary confrontation with Afzal Khan. The sights and sounds of the iconic Dahi Handi and Govinda's return to Maharashtra after a gap of 2 years.
Welcome back. Getting some more breaking news right here on CNN News 18. And this one is to do with Arvind Kejriwal's latest tweet, even as the Delhi liquor policy is exploding. Now, Arvind Kejriwal has tweeted, and I quote him here, on Monday, Manish ji and I will be going to Gujarat for 2 days to guarantee education and health. Like Delhi, Gujarat will also have good schools, good hospitals and mohalla clinics. Everyone will get free and good education and good treatment. People will be relieved and will also be interacting with the youth. This is the latest tweet by Arvind Kejriwal. My colleague Rupashri now joins me on the broadcast. Rupashri, this has become the normal stance of the Aam Aadmi Party, that of nonchalance. They are trying to not give any attention, at least that's what they'd like people to believe, on the CBI raids at Manish Sisodia. Anything but that. And education and health remains priority, and that's the dialogue they want to take forward.
Absolutely. In fact, I would like to tell our viewers that we had broken this story yesterday itself, that Arvind Kejriwal could go to Gujarat on a 2-day trip. But today, Arvind Kejriwal himself has tweeted and said that he, along with Manish Sisodia, will go to Gujarat and will give more guarantees on health and education. So clearly, the signal that the Aam Aadmi Party is saying is sending out, especially Arvind Kejriwal is sending out, is that he is not distancing himself from Manish Sisodia at all. Even after the CBI raids at Sisodia's house, he is traveling along with Sisodia to Gujarat, and he is going to have a dialogue with the youth over there, and to take the election campaign forward over there, and is talking about issues that matter to the Aam Aadmi, that is common people, health, education, and so on and so forth. So the signal that the Aam Aadmi Party is sending out, like I had been pointing out yesterday also, I was standing in front of Kejriwal's residence the whole of yesterday, and it was actually business as usual. There was no crowding. I mean, he went about his day as any ordinary day, and in fact yesterday itself they had decided that they would be going to Gujarat in the first week, the coming week, and that would be on Monday and Tuesday. Now I'll just give me a minute, because I can see there's some movement here. I think it is probably the Chief Minister himself who would be moving out, because I can see the pilot vehicle also getting ready. Earlier, Gopal Rai, the Delhi Cabinet Minister, had come to meet Arvind Kejriwal. We'll have to see whether Gopal Rai along with Kejriwal is going somewhere, or is it Kejriwal himself. He may well be going to the Delhi Secretariat also. We don't know that as of now. But
all right,
yeah, we'll have to wait, yes.
We will let you actually ascertain facts when it comes to that. Remember, Rupashri, my colleague, has been reporting from outside Arvind Kejriwal's residence ever since this controversy has broken, since yesterday, when the CBI raids happened at Manish Sisodia, Arvind's deputy, in the national capital early morning yesterday. She's the one who's brought us this particular story, that Arvind Kejriwal will in fact be heading to Gujarat, and now all that stands true, as there's a tweet that's been put out by Arvind Kejriwal himself that he, along with his deputy Manish Sisodia, are in fact going to go to Gujarat, and they are going to be there for 2 days to take education and health forward when it comes to the state of Gujarat. Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia has backed the excise policy after he was raided yesterday by the CBI in connection with the scam. Sisodia said that if the Lieutenant Governor would have not changed the policy in the last 48 hours, Delhi would have gotten good revenue of rupees 10,000 crores. He even added that nothing illegal has happened.
शराब या एक्साइज की चोरी इनकी परेशानी है ही नहीं, इनकी परेशानी है अरविंद केजरीवाल। आज से 3-4 दिन के अंदर, हो सकता है आज कल परसों में, कभी भी ये सीबीआई ईडी भेज के मुझे भी गिरफ्तार कर लेंगे, कई सारे और आप नेताओं को भी गिरफ्तार कर लेंगे। हम अपने आप को भगत सिंह की संतान मानते हैं, हम डरने वाले नहीं हैं तुम्हारी सीबीआई से, तुम्हारी ईडी से, तुम्हारे पैसे के आगे बिकने वाले नहीं है, हमको नहीं तोड़ पाओगे तुम।
Union Minister Anurag Thakur slammed the Aam Aadmi Party government over the liquor scam. Anurag Thakur said that Arvind Kejriwal is the kingpin of the scam. Thakur also asked the Aam Aadmi Party government that if the policy was corruption-free, why did they take it back?
ये आम आदमी पार्टी की सरकार, ये रेवड़ी की सरकार भी है, बेवड़ी सरकार भी है। क्योंकि जिस तरह से इनके एक वरिष्ठ नेता ने ये कहा कि हमें कोविड से लेना देना नहीं। अरे भाई, कोविड में तो आपने कुछ किया ही नहीं। दिल्ली में, देश में हाहाकार मची दिल्ली के कारण, वो देखने को मिला। इनके नेता ने कहा कोविड से हमें लेना देना नहीं, तो भाई शराब वालों से क्या लेना देना था आपका, ये तो बता दो।
Meanwhile, the BJP welcomed CBI raids at Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia's residence yesterday. Party leaders targeted Arvind Kejriwal government in the national capital of indulging in corrupt practices under the garb of the excise policy. Delhi BJP Chief Adesh Gupta said that the government should clarify why did they take back the policy if it was benefiting the state.
आम आदमी पार्टी सरकार नई शराब की नीति इसलिए लाए कि शराब का इक्वल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन कर सके। उस जनता को साफ पानी का इक्वल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की चिंता नहीं थी, उनको सीवरेज सिस्टम की इक्वल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की चिंता नहीं थी, उनको परिवहन व्यवस्था की इक्वल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की चिंता नहीं थी।
BJP's Manjinder Singh Sirsa hid out at Manish Sisodia just after his press conference and the policy scam. Sirsa said that Sisodia fled the press conference as soon as he was asked about knowing some of the accused. He even added that Sisodia blackmails people.
जब मीडिया के बंधुओं ने उनसे पूछा कि दिनेश चोपड़ा को आप जानते हो, तो मनीष सिसोदिया प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस छोड़कर भाग गए। एक्साइज पॉलिसी में 12% जो कमीशन उन्होंने तय की थी, वो क्यों तय की थी और 6% कमीशन किसको जारी थी, इसका जवाब मनीष सिसोदिया ने नहीं दिया। ये कहा एजुकेशन, हेल्थ पे हमें रोका जा रहा है। आपको कोई नहीं रोक रहा, आपको केवल और केवल करप्शन करने से मोदी जी रोक रहे हैं।
The BJP accused the Aam Aadmi Party of highlighting paid news copies after Aam Aadmi Party tweeted a picture of a report on the education model in the national capital was carried in the New York Times. BJP's Shehzad Poonawalla even compared the similarities between the articles of New York Times and Khalij Times.
न्यू यॉर्क टाइम्स में जो ये आर्टिकल जो छपा है, जिसके आधार पर ये वर्ल्ड क्लास एजुकेशन मॉडल की बातें कर रहे हैं, ऐसा ही हूबहू आर्टिकल खलीज टाइम्स में छपा और यहां तक कि फोटोज और वर्ड्स भी सेम हैं। आई कैन अंडरस्टैंड कि न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स के अलग अलग एडिशंस में वो छप जाए, पर न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स और खलीज टाइम्स दोनों में सेम आर्टिकल, सेम फोटोज कैसे छप सकते हैं?
Breaking news coming in. Now, Manish Sisodia has met Arvind Kejriwal at his residence in the national capital. In fact, Arvind Kejriwal and Manish Sisodia have left from Kejriwal's residence. My colleague Rupashri was just reporting from outside there, and she was the one who had actually brought us those details that they are about to leave. Rupashri, what more can you tell us? We are being told that Kejriwal and Sisodia have left Kejriwal's residence together.
Yes, in fact, even as we were reporting, Manish Sisodia actually just entered Kejriwal's residence probably just a minute back, and as I was reporting and I was trying to show you the visuals, and I was trying to say that it is the Chief Minister who is going to move out, actually, and Chief Minister has already met Gopal Rai in the morning. It was actually Arvind Kejriwal and Manish Sisodia who went out in that vehicle together. Both of them were sitting in the back seat, and they have gone. It is perhaps we actually cannot confirm the destination as to exactly where they have gone. We'll try and get that information for you in a moment. But definitely, both of them are sitting on the back seat. Both of them looking absolutely comfortable with each other, and going perhaps to attend to some work. So this we had already broken in the morning that Manish Sisodia and Arvind Kejriwal had also met last night once, and this is the second meeting of the two after the raids unfolded in Sisodia's residence yesterday. And we had also broken the story that Kejriwal will be travelling to Gujarat in the first week of in the coming week for 2 days, and today that also has been confirmed that Kejriwal along with Sisodia is set to go to Gujarat on Monday and Tuesday, and will be talking about health and education models, and will be giving guarantees, essentially taking the election battle forward and pushing back with all the might that the Aam Aadmi Party actually has. Now it remains to be seen whether Manish Sisodia, as he has said, is likely to be arrested over the next 2 to 3 days. Whether that happens before he leaves for Gujarat, or whether that happens after he returns from Gujarat, that is something that we have to wait and watch. But if you give me a minute, I'll try and get you details about where both of them have actually gone. It may be to the Delhi Secretariat, it may be to the court, it may be to meet somebody. We'll just have to wait for more information on that.
Rupashri, I'd just like you to, explain this to our viewers, because we've just broken this story that both Arvind Kejriwal and Manish Sisodia are all set to fly out of the national capital, go to Gujarat on Monday. This is what is the tweet that's come out of Arvind Kejriwal. Now we are breaking this particular story that both Manish Sisodia and Kejriwal have left Kejriwal's residence together. Whether they have gone to go about their daily work or other things, we are yet to ascertain those facts. But when it comes to CBI arresting Manish Sisodia, do you think we can see ample drama being played out, and this might just be a last-minute state of affairs or planning by the Aam Aadmi Party that they will go ahead, take that trip to Gujarat for that matter?
The point that I've been trying to make since yesterday is that the Aam Aadmi Party realizes that it has no other option but to fight back. The Aam Aadmi Party is trying very hard to give this signal out that there is nothing wrong with its excise policy, there is nothing wrong with its government, and that the Chief Minister is standing solidly behind Manish Sisodia. Remember, even when the Deputy Chief Minister is under the scanner, Arvind Kejriwal himself, being the Aam Aadmi Party convener, carrying the weight of the entire the expectations of his party, the image of his party, is travelling along with Manish Sisodia to Gujarat, and for what? For campaigning in elections. So that also is a very strong sort of endorsement that has come from Arvind Kejriwal for Manish Sisodia. Remember, just a while ago, you heard BJP leaders essentially saying that Kejriwal has abandoned Sisodia, but nothing of that sort has happened. It is just a strategy of the Aam Aadmi Party. Aam Aadmi Party chief has defended both Manish Sisodia and his other minister, Satyendra Jain, who is in jail currently, and he has always said that this backlash that he is facing is because of the growing popularity of the Aam Aadmi Party. That is a claim, remember, of the Aam Aadmi Party. That is the pitch that the Aam Aadmi Party is making. That is the pushback that the Aam Aadmi Party is making. And remember, the BJP's attacks on the Aam Aadmi Party is becoming more strong, more fierce, and more bitter day by day. If you look at the allegations, you look at the language, you look at the the sheer frequency of the press conferences that they have. It is just forcing the Aam Aadmi Party to respond with its own press conferences. So yes, a strong endorsement coming from Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal for the Manish Sisodia, who actually had to endure who went through 14 hours of interrogation and investigation yesterday by the CBI. It was a very, very rough day for his family. His wife was present over there, his son was present over there, his phone was taken, his laptop was also taken away. Some other files have also been taken away. He was not even, like anybody who is under the scanner. He was not allowed to be in touch with other people. So the Aam Aadmi Party now is trying to make
all right, Rupashri, what we will let you do is go and ascertain as to where have Sisodia and Arvind Kejriwal gone at the moment, and very rightfully with the point that you're making, Arvind Kejriwal, the argument is that he is not just a close second, he's probably neck and neck when it comes to optics and when it comes to the BJP government for that matter. So the moment that tweet came out of the BJP that Arvind Kejriwal is abandoning Sisodia, he'd make sure that he will actually say that visually, that he's standing by Manish Sisodia come what may. So we'll leave it at that, and we'll try and track all the developments that are coming to light. Rupashri is bringing you all the details about that. And after this very, very short break, we'll try and get a sense of where exactly are the Delhi Chief Minister and his deputy headed.
Reeling under heavy floods after rains pounded the coastal districts.
Several rivers in Maharashtra are in spate after incessant rains for the last 24 hours. Despite dangerous conditions, this group of people decided to cross a river in Nashik. But the water was flowing so fast that they lost their balance. They held each other's hands and managed to cross the river to safety. Similar pictures surfaced from Vidarbha in Maharashtra. Rainwater left roads flooded and entered several homes. Several people were seen wading through knee-deep water. Teams from the National Disaster Response Force were roped in to evacuate people from flooded areas.
A day after he was heckled in Kodagu for questioning the installation of Savarkar posters, Siddaramaiah faced protest in Chikmagaluru as well. Right-wing groups carrying pictures of Savarkar tried to gerouse Siddaramaiah's motorcade. The Congress called it a state-sponsored protest. 2 months after Rahul Gandhi's Wayanad office was vandalized after a protest by members of the Students' Federation of India, 4 people, including Rahul Gandhi's staff there, have been arrested. They've been accused of damaging a picture of Mahatma Gandhi in the office. Remember, the Congress had accused the SFI of vandalism. The Sports Ministry has reached out to both FIFA and the Asian Football Confederation to allow Indian club sides to compete in tournaments as scheduled. Before FIFA suspended the All India Football Federation, Sri Gokulam Kerala FC had already reached Uzbekistan for a tournament beginning on the 23rd of August. ATK Mohun Bagan is also slated to play in September. Amid tensions with China, Taiwan's president thanked the Navy for their efforts.
Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen visited tailors of the island's navy to thank them for their efforts. She called the pressure they are faced with as indescribable. During the visit, Taiwanese sailors wearing anti-flash gear warned Chinese warships by radio to change direction, saying they had seriously damaged security in the Taiwan Strait. Although the scale of China's drills has reduced, Taiwan continues to report Chinese fighters and warships operating around the island. The island nation has been holding its own military drills in the last couple of days, conducting anti-air drills with missiles and cannons. China claims the democratically governed Taiwan as its own territory and has been holding war drills to show its anger against US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to the island nation.
Russia has deployed 3 new fighters armed with nuclear-capable missiles to its European enclave. Jets especially modified. These are MiG-31K variants. They can carry the Kinzhal or the Dagger hypersonic missile. These missiles can be armed with nuclear warheads as well that are capable of flying at 12 times the speed of sound. These jets have landed in Kaliningrad, very next to the NATO member Poland. At least 1 person was killed in Russian shelling on the Ukrainian city of Kharkiv. 5 missiles hit different parts of the city early this morning, in which several buildings were reduced to rubble. Ukraine's second largest city has been the target of regular Russian shelling since the invasion began, but Russia says it's targeting a concentration of Ukrainian soldiers in the area. Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro has come face-to-face with a heckler and tried to snatch his phone. As Bolsonaro spoke to supporters outside his home, one person used his phone to film himself repeatedly shouting at the president. Bolsonaro grabbed the man's shirt while reaching for his phone. Security guards pulled the man away. Amid the recent uptick in COVID-19 cases in China's Xiamen, aggressive testing has been going on, and no one can escape it, not even fish. This viral video shows how authorities clad in PPE kits were inserting cotton buds inside the mouths of fish and swabbing the shells of crabs. While many have ridiculed this move, some are supporting it, saying that it's for everyone's well-being.
Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with CNN News 18. I'm Grihatul Siddiqui. Let's now get you a quick roundup of the top stories that we are tracking at this hour. The Bharatiya Janata Party protested against the Gehlot government against issues like atrocities on women and saints, illegal mining, mob lynching, attacks on Hindus and other crime incidents in Rajasthan. Police detained BJP state president Satish Punia and MP Rajyavardhan Singh Rathore during this protest.
जो अपराधी हैं, चरमपंथी हैं, वो खुलेआम घूम रहे हैं राजस्थान में। ये राजस्थान सरकार का नमूना है काम करने का। ये हर रोज की घटना है और उसके बावजूद भी अपराधी पकड़ में नहीं आते। और मुख्यमंत्री कहते हैं तो छोटी सी घटना है, तो इन घटनाओं को छोटा बताकर तुष्टीकरण की राजनीति करना, ये राजस्थान में हो रहा है। ये जो गुस्सा है, ये पूरे राजस्थान का गुस्सा है, ये पूरे देश का गुस्सा है जो यहाँ पर दिखाई दे रहा है। सरकार पुलिस का गलत इस्तेमाल कर रही है।
जो 7,94,000 मुकदमे दर्ज हुए उस पर गहलोत सरकार जवाब दे, जो रोज 18 बलात्कार होते हैं उस पर जवाब दे, जो 7 हत्याएं होती हैं उस पर जवाब दे। हमने इन मुद्दों के लिए सरकार से मांग रखी है, लेकिन जिस तरीके से सरकार अशोक गहलोत हमसे डरता है, इसलिए पुलिस को आगे करता है, तो पुलिस के बल पर दमन करने की कोशिश की है, लेकिन हम लोकहित के लिए रुकेंगे नहीं।
Union Home Minister Amit Shah visited AIIMS and inquired about the health of the ITBP personnel. Remember, a tragic bus accident happened near Pahalgam, where 7 Jawans lost their lives while 32 others were injured in the accident. The injured Jawans were evacuated to Srinagar on the same day for treatment. The Congress organized a commemorative program to mark the 78th birth anniversary of the former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi at Veer Bhumi. Congress leaders Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi paid their tribute. BJP National President JP Nadda arrived in Himachal's Paonta Sahib. Nadda will hold meetings with leaders of the state unit to formulate a strategy ahead of the assembly elections scheduled to be held later this year. He also addressed a public gathering at Paonta Sahib.
और अगर 2047 देखना है
तो हाथ पे हाथ धर करके नहीं बैठना है। हमने इस देश को विकसित भारत बनाना है और विकसित हिमाचल बनाना है। इसके लिए हमको काम करना है। हमको आत्मनिर्भर भारत बनाना है। हमको आत्मनिर्भर हिमाचल बनाना है। अगर हिमाचल आत्मनिर्भर बनेगा तो देश आत्मनिर्भर बनेगा।
An Indian Air Force contingent has reached Australia to take part in the exercise Pitch Black. The biennial multinational exercise hosted by the Royal Australian Air Force will see the participation of over 100 aircrafts and 2,500 military personnel from various air forces. Meanwhile, en route to Australia, the French Air Force refueled Sukhoi Su-30 MKI fighter jets of the Indian Air Force. It was for the first time that France has refueled Indian jets in flight during their projection. The Indian Air Force thanked France for the mid-air refueling support. Mumbai police gets threat message from Pakistan number on the traffic control room's WhatsApp. Now, the person who gave the threat message on WhatsApp said that a 26/11 attack is likely to happen in Mumbai. In fact, Mumbai police has started investigating the matter and other agencies have also been informed about it. After huge controversy erupted on the new Jammu and Kashmir electoral rolls, the Jammu and Kashmir government has come out with a clarification on the controversy surrounding the addition of 25 lakh new voters. Jammu and Kashmir government said that there is a misinterpretation of facts and people who have attained the age of 18 years will be added to the new list. Shri Mata Vaishno Devi Yatra has resumed this morning. The Yatra was halted after heavy downpour and a flood-like situation had emerged in Jammu and Kashmir's Bang Ganga and Himkoti area that is en route to the cave shrine. However, thankfully, no loss of life was reported in the incident.
श्राइन बोर्ड ने पूरी तैयारी की होती है। कल जब ये यात्रा को रोका गया था, जो लोग भवन में थे उनका आंकड़ा इनके पास था और यहाँ से जब यात्रा को बंद कर दिया गया तो इन्होंने यही निर्णय लिया था कि जो लोग भवन में फंसे हुए हैं पहले उनको वापस लाएं। रोजाना यहाँ पर इस समय 15 से लेकर 20,000 के करीब यात्री जो है वो आ रहे हैं और अब नई यात्रा जो है वो आज सुबह शुरू हुई है। अभी तो माना जा रहा है कि 10 से 12,000 श्रद्धालु जो है वो कटरा भवन के जहां कटरा बस स्टैंड और अन्य होटलों में ठहरा हुआ था जो अभी दर्शन के लिए निकला है।
2 people have died and 6 have been injured due to suffocation and overcrowding, according to police officials. During the Mangal Aarti at Banke Bihari in Mathura, one devotee fainted at the exit gate of the temple, due to which movement of devotees was restricted. As there was a huge crowd, many inside the premises were suffocated due to the humidity. A painting of Hindu god Krishna being sold on Amazon has stoked a massive row. The painting, sold by a Bengaluru-based organization, Ecology, on retailing website Amazon, shows Lord Krishna in a compromising position. A delegation of members from the Hindu Jana Jagrati Samiti lodged a complaint in Bengaluru against Amazon. Karnataka Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai has ordered a thorough investigation into the death threat calls to Siddaramaiah. He's also ordered security for the leader of opposition. This comes after Siddaramaiah's comments on the Veer Savarkar poster row in Shivmoga. In a tragic accident, a private college bus and goods vehicle collided in Karnataka's Belagavi. 2 people have died on the spot, while more than 10 students are said to be seriously injured. The injured students have been rushed to the nearby hospital. A flash flood-like situation occurred due to incessant torrential rainfall at Tapkeshwar Mahadev Temple in Uttarakhand's Dehradun. Now, another incident of cloudburst was reported by locals at 2:45 a.m. in Sarket village in Raipur block in Uttarakhand's Dehradun district. The SDRF teams were immediately rushed to the spot, and according to the SDRF officials, all the people stuck in the village were rescued, while some others took shelter at a resort nearby. A boy trapped in the middle of the gushing waters of Song River was rescued by SDRF in Raipur area of Dehradun. Rains in Dehradun continue to add misery to the lives of the people living there. Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami inspected the flood-hit area of Raipur and Dehradun. Amid torrential rains, the hilly states have witnessed flooded roads, buildings and overflowing rivers, leaving people stranded in various places. Rains have wreaked havoc in several districts of Himachal Pradesh. 4 people have died and 15 are missing after the rain triggered a flash flood in Mandi. The HRTC bus stand at Dharampur has also been submerged in water and several shops have also been submerged in Kangra.
जो तस्वीर है वो बहुत ही चिंता में डाल देने वाली तस्वीर है, बहुत ही परेशान कर देने वाली तस्वीर है, इसलिए क्योंकि पर भारी बरसात के चलते जो है यहाँ कुछ बूथ, कुछ छोटी दुकानें, कुछ ढाबे जो हैं पूरी तरह से मटियामेट हो चुके हैं, मलबे के नीचे आ चुके हैं और जिसकी वजह से लाखों रुपयों का नुकसान जो है आज यहाँ के जो मालिक थे उनको झेलना पड़ा है और इसके साथ साथ नेशनल हाईवे 154 पूरी तरह से ठप हो चुका है।
800-meter long railway bridge on the Chaki River on Punjab-Himachal border collapsed due to a flash flood. The train service between Pathankot and Joginder Nagar will remain suspended till a new pillar is now constructed. Gujarat is reeling under floods and Surat is the worst hit.
Roads turned into rivers, resulting in several vehicles getting submerged. Water even entered people's homes, forcing people to move to higher floors.
हम लोगों को बहुत तकलीफ होता है, पानी इतना आता है ना।
Drone footage shows most of Surat inundated. There is water for as long as the eye can see. Most people remained confined to their homes, but this pregnant woman had to be evacuated from her flooded home. A boat was brought in to take her to a safer location.
Nearly 5 lakh people have been affected by the devastating floods in Odisha. People were stuck in neck-deep water, waiting to be evacuated. Relief and rescue teams have reached the maroon villages on boats and they are moving the people to safety. Incessant rains have triggered floods across the state. In fact, Maharashtra is reeling under floods after heavy rains. Let's take a look at this report.
Several rivers in Maharashtra are in spate after incessant rains for the last 24 hours. Despite dangerous conditions, this group of people decided to cross a river in Nashik. But the water was flowing so fast that they lost their balance. They held each other's hands and managed to cross the river to safety.
यहाँ पुल होना चाहिए बड़ा सा, यही हमारा मांग है।
Similar pictures surfaced from Vidarbha in Maharashtra. Rainwater left roads flooded and entered several homes. Several people were seen wading through knee-deep water. Teams from the National Disaster Response Force were roped in to evacuate people from flooded areas.
Hello and welcome and thank you so much for being with us on CNN News 18. I'm Rihatul Siddiqui and we are beginning the top of 3 with some breaking news that's coming in. So we were talking about how Arvind Kejriwal and Manish Sisodia had left Kejriwal's residence a short while ago, and now we are told that both Kejriwal and Sisodia have reached the Rouse Avenue court. Now this is related to a defamation case that was filed by the lawyer Surendra Kumar Sharma against Arvind Kejriwal and Manish Sisodia. Now Arvind Kejriwal, Manish Sisodia and Yogendra Yadav are all accused in this case. My colleague Rupashri joining me on the broadcast. Rupashri, just take us through what this case is all about and the fact that both Arvind Kejriwal and Manish Sisodia along with Yogendra Yadav are accused in this particular case.
Well, this is a defamation case that has been filed by this person called Surendra Kumar, and it has leveled various allegations against Yogendra Yadav and Arvind Kejriwal and Manish Sisodia. If I remember correctly, this relates essentially to the first election that the Aam Aadmi Party fought in 2013. If I remember correctly again, Surendra Kumar was one of the persons who probably wanted a ticket, and he had alleged that there was something that was not quite right. He was promised something, and he was not given. But the most important news point over here is that Manish Sisodia came to Kejriwal's residence, and both of them travelled together in one vehicle, in the Chief Minister's official vehicle, to the Rouse Avenue court. where they will be appearing in this particular defamation case. And this comes immediately after Arvind Kejriwal's tweet that he and Manish Sisodia are going to travel to Gujarat together and will be in Gujarat on Monday and Tuesday in order to campaign for the Aam Aadmi Party in Gujarat. And remember, that again follows what Anurag Thakur had said and what other BJP leaders had accused Arvind Kejriwal of, that he's abandoning his deputy in the middle of this crisis, and he's essentially trying to wash his hands off Sisodia. So that clearly is not happening. Kejriwal sending out the signal that he is absolutely standing behind Manish Sisodia. He is banking on Manish Sisodia also to take the models of health and education ahead in election-bound Gujarat, and this also is making and also trying to make the political point about this battle of perception. Remember, what is the BJP saying? BJP is saying that Aam Aadmi Party is also extremely corrupt. Aam Aadmi Party has done a lot of scams on the Delhi excise policy, and the BJP is trying essentially to discredit Manish Sisodia. But in an election-bound state, while interacting with people in order to garner for votes, it is Manish Sisodia again who will be pushed as the face over the next week in Gujarat elections. It remains to be seen whether there is any action by the CBI before that, or whether the CBI and the ED are going to wait for Manish Sisodia and Arvind Kejriwal to return from Gujarat before taking any other steps.
All right, Rupashri, in fact, stay on with me. I'm also now joined on the broadcast by Ananya, my colleague. Ananya, we are being told that both Arvind Kejriwal and Manish Sisodia have now been acquitted in this particular case. If you could just take us through the background of this defamation case that we're talking about.
Well, yes, this case has been filed by a lawyer and former Aam Aadmi Party worker who was promised basically a ticket from the party, but later that was refused, and allegations were made against him, following which he had filed a defamation complaint against Arvind Kejriwal, Manish Sisodia, and also Yogendra Yadav. And now, after years into this particular case, the court noted that since there is nothing suffices in this complaint, and hence no defamation case is made out against Mr. Kejriwal, Manish Sisodia, and Yogendra Yadav. However, the court has, under the Article 437A, Section 437A of the CRPC, has asked all of these three persons to, in fact, give out a bond of ₹10,000 in this particular defamation case. So now Arvind Kejriwal, Manish Sisodia, and Yogendra Yadav stand acquitted into this case. Remember, this order has been passed by Delhi's Rouse Avenue Court. A magistrate court in Rouse Avenue Court complex has passed this order after hearing the matter for almost 2 to 3 years. And finally, all of them have been acquitted from the court. Remember that this is some kind of a relief coming in from Manish Sisodia. And after years, in fact, into this particular case, now they stand acquitted into this particular case.
Ananya, were they summoned? Were Manish Sisodia and Arvind Kejriwal summoned? Because if we are talking about both Manish and Arvind Kejriwal trying to actually, ascertain the fact that they are together in this fight, because the timing here is very, very crucial. We are talking about the CBI raids already. We'll try and reconnect with Ananya. I seem to have lost that link, but I'll come back to you, Rupashri. We're talking about the timing, how this particular case also was being heard today. Both Arvind Kejriwal and Manish Sisodia only decided to drive to the Rouse Avenue Court just 15 minutes back, and they are now leaving. Do you think it was a deliberate attempt to actually go ahead together? Were they summoned?
What I understand is that there was a requirement of their presence in the court, and it must have been the final hearing, which is why both of them went to the court. Unless the court requires them to be present, neither Deputy Chief Minister nor the Chief Minister ever go to the court at all. So there must have been some compulsive requirement on the part of both of them to appear in the court today. And yes, Arvind Kejriwal sent a very, very strong political signal by driving with Manish Sisodia to the Rouse Avenue Court together, and to appear in this particular defamation case. Now remember, this is not something that is very surprising for the Aam Aadmi Party itself or its legislators or its workers across the country or office bearers across the country. But when it comes to the opposition, that sends out a very, very strong signal. Now remember what happened in West Bengal when many people who were close or supposedly close to Mamata Banerjee actually faced a lot of heat from various investigative agencies. At that particular time, especially in the first case, I think there was a strong distancing of the Chief Minister from the person who was accused, and that person later, it appeared that he was completely on his own. So it's not just a simple and straight story. It is the story of Arvind Kejriwal, Chief Minister of Delhi, and friend of Manish Sisodia, standing completely by Manish Sisodia, appearing with him together, driving down together to the court in order to appear, and also travelling along with him to Gujarat to campaign in Gujarat. So it sends a very strong signal that the Aam Aadmi Party chief is with the minister under question. He believes that the minister is honest, and he believes that this is essentially an act of a sort of vindictiveness by the central government. And remember, Manish Sisodia also, when he addressed that press conference today, he said that मैं भ्रष्ट नहीं हूँ, मैं सिर्फ केजरीवाल का शिक्षा मंत्री हूँ. So that is what he said. I am not corrupt. I am just the minister. I am just the education minister of Arvind Kejriwal. So that is the kind of sentiment that runs amongst people over here, and regardless of what actually happens in the court. Now remember that these are two different things. Kejriwal standing by Sisodia in this moment is one thing, and Sisodia fighting that case in the court will be a completely different thing. And over there also, Aam Aadmi Party is gearing itself or bracing itself for the worst possible consequences, which may also mean that Sisodia could be jailed under very strict provisions, not that those that come under the CBI, but those that come under the ED, and then a prospect of getting bail will be difficult, like it has happened with Satinder Jain.
All right, Rupashri. In fact, Manish Sisodia also mentioning that he might just be arrested by the CBI, but right now, his Chief Minister, Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, putting his weight behind his deputy. We leave it at that and move on to the next breaking that we are getting on the broadcasters. This one's coming from West Bengal, as there's no relief for Mamata Banerjee's top aide, as Anubrata Mondal's custody has been extended by 4 more days. In fact, we are told that CBI has now got a full-term remand of Anubrata Mondal. He is going to be in CBI custody till the 24th of August now. Shogato, my colleague, joins me on the broadcast. Shogato, this is big trouble for Anubrata Mondal. Custody extended by 4 more days.
Well, the CBI obviously has got the full-term custody for Anubrata Mondal, given the fact that Anubrata was in CBI custody for 10 days, and the CBI had moved court today praying for 4 more days of custody. 14 days of custody is the maximum that a police force can get, and CBI has in fact secured 14 days of custody for Anubrata Mondal. Obviously, the point that the CBI raised before the court, the submission was that Anubrata Mondal is not cooperating with the agency probe. He is not answering questions, and he has so far been elusive in his answers, or have been silent as far as the questions for Anubrata Mondal regarding the cattle smuggling cases are concerned. The CBI also submitted before the court that this is not the handiwork of Anubrata Mondal alone. There is a larger nexus, and more skeletons are tumbling out of the cupboard with each passing day, not just with regard to Anubrata Mondal's own assets, but also the involvement of others in this whole investigation, which is turning out to be more and more murky with every passing day. As a result of which, the CBI wanted 4 more days of custody, the full period for which the CBI reasoned that it needs to question Anubrata Mondal more intensively to get to the bottom of this alleged corruption. As far as Anubrata Mondal's lawyers are concerned, they pleaded, they moved removed a bail application on the grounds that Mondal has not been keeping well, and he has never said that he will not cooperate with the investigation. Only the CBI never gave him time to recover from his failing health conditions, the chronic health ailments that he has. So under the circumstances, the lawyers for Onubroto Mondal, and in fact Onubroto Mondal himself in court today said that he was not keeping well at all when the judge asked him about his health condition. But it seems that the CBI special court was unconvinced with what the defense counsel had to say, and as a result, it has granted the investigating agency its full-term custody of 14 days, which now essentially means that 4 more days of custody for Onubroto Mondal, and he will be produced in court next on the 24th of August.
Absolutely. Saugata, thank you so much for joining us with all those details. So big trouble there for Onubroto Mondal, and now he is all set to be in CBI custody till the 24th of August. Moving on now to the big story that we are tracking on CNN News 18. A day after the Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia was raided by the CBI over charges of corruption in the now withdrawn Delhi liquor policy. Manish Sisodia launched a scathing attack on the BJP-led central government, saying that BJP is not worried about the excise fraud but about Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, who they see as a challenge to Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the 2024 general elections. Addressing a press conference, Sisodia said that he hasn't done any corruption. He further added that he might be arrested within the next 2 days, and Sisodia is also on top of a list of 15 accused named in CBI's FIR on the liquor policy violations. In fact, the offences listed in the 11-page document are corruption, criminal conspiracy and falsification of documents and accounts.
मेरी गलती ये थोड़ी ना है, वो भी जानते हैं कि कोई भ्रष्टाचार नहीं हुआ। इनको पता है कि कोई भ्रष्टाचार नहीं हुआ, इसीलिए उलझुल बके जाते हैं। इनको मैंने भ्रष्टाचार नहीं किया, मैंने सिर्फ इतना किया है कि अरविंद केजरीवाल जी का एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर हूं मैं, इसलिए ये कर रहे हैं, इसलिए ये साजिश रची जा रही है। 3-4 दिन के अंदर हो सकता है, आज कल परसों में कभी भी ये CBI ईडी भेज के मुझे भी गिरफ्तार कर लेंगे, कई सारे और आप नेताओं को भी गिरफ्तार कर लेंगे। लेकिन मैं कहना चाहता हूं कि हम भगत सिंह के फॉलोअर हैं, हम अपने आप को भगत सिंह की संतान मानते हैं। हम डरने वाले नहीं हैं तुम्हारी CBI से, तुम्हारी ईडी से, तुम्हारे पैसे के आगे बिकने वाले नहीं हैं। हमको नहीं तोड़ पाओगे तुम। सरकारें गिराने का 24 घंटे सपना देखते हैं, उसके अलावा मोदी जी को कोई सपना ही नहीं आता आजकल। मैं आज आपके सामने कहना चाहता हूं कि 2024 का चुनाव आम आदमी पार्टी वर्सेस भारतीय जनता पार्टी होने जा रहा है। अब तक लोग पूछते थे कि मोदी वर्सेस हु, अब पूरे देश में माहौल बन रहा है कि मोदी जी नहीं चाहिए, अरविंद केजरीवाल जी को एक मौका देना है।
Accused number 1 of the liquor corruption is Mr. Manish Sisodia, but the kingpin of corruption is Arvind Kejriwal. Manish जी, आखिरकार अगर आपकी शराब नीति ठीक थी तो वापस क्यों ली? कि मनीष सिसोदिया जी बताएं कि मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कंपनियों को रिटेल में ठेके की अगर अनुमति नहीं होती थी तो आपने क्यों दी? ये आम आदमी पार्टी की सरकार, ये रेवड़ी की सरकार भी है, बेवड़ी सरकार भी है। क्योंकि जिस तरह से इनके एक वरिष्ठ नेता ने ये कहा कि हमें कोविड से लेना देना नहीं, भ्रष्टाचार के नए रिकॉर्ड बनाने अरविंद केजरीवाल जी जो किंग पिन है भ्रष्टाचार के, और अक्यूज नंबर 1 मनीष सिसोदिया जी ने किया। और मनीष सिसोदिया ने अब अपने नाम के स्पेलिंग भी शायद चेंज कर लिए हैं। अब इनका अगला आ गया है MONEY, मनीष।
शराब या एक्साइज की चोरी इनकी परेशानी है ही नहीं, इनकी परेशानी है अरविंद केजरीवाल। ये जो पूरी कार्रवाई मेरे दफ्तर में हो रही है, मेरे घर में रेड डाली जा रही है, ये हो ही इसलिए रही है कि अरविंद केजरीवाल जी को रोकना चाहते हैं। ये अरविंद केजरीवाल जी को रोकने की जो साजिश रची जा रही है उसी स्क्रिप्ट का हिस्सा है।
जब मीडिया के बंधुओं ने उनसे पूछा कि दिनेश हुड्डा को आप जानते हो, तो मनीष सिसोदिया प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस छोड़कर भाग गए। एक्साइज पॉलिसी में 12% जो कमीशन उन्होंने तय की थी, वो क्यों तय की थी और 6% कमीशन किसको जारी थी, इसका जवाब मनीष सिसोदिया ने नहीं दिया। ये कहा एजुकेशन हेल्थ पे हमें रोका जा रहा है। आपको कोई नहीं रोक रहा, आपको केवल और केवल करप्शन करने से मोदी जी रोक रहे हैं।
My colleague Rupashri, who is tracking all the developments on this big story that we are tracking on CNN News 18, is joining me from outside Arvind Kejriwal's residence in the national capital. Rupashri, first big question, are Arvind and Manish Sisodia back to his residence? And also the fact that Aam Aadmi Party is sticking to its stand of nonchalance, not really going ahead and engaging with the BJP on the questions that the party is raising, instead asking them or redirecting them to the press conference that Manish Sisodia has